This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate first part of What If Broken Naruto was raised by Jiraiya. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
It was the day following the attack on Kyuubi. The loss of Minato Namikaze, their greatest hero, and all the others who perished the previous evening left everyone in mourning. Few people were aware that Minato had a son named Naruto, who was unfortunately destined to carry the Kyuubi for the rest of his life. We discovered Jiraiya sipping sake by herself while sitting on a rooftop. Jiraiya said to no one in particular, "Well, Minato, you saved the village, but wasn't there another way?" Since Minato wasn't in the village on the night of the attack, Jiraiya felt accountable for his demise. Jiraiya berated himself when he said, "Late again, always too late to save the ones I care for his shortcomings as a mentor and friend." Before going to Minato's grave and laying a white flower atop the monument, Jiraiya sat there and finished his sake. Jiraiya could only say, "Sorry, though." Now Jiraiya was by herself. Minato and Kushina had vanished, Tsunade had vanished to an unknown location, and his best friend, whom he had written off years prior, remained a blatant traitor. Jiraiya thought, "Well, I'd better go see the old man." Jiraiya strolled leisurely to Hiruzen Sarutobi's office through the streets of Konoha. Minato's passing forced the third Hokage to assume the role of Hokage once more. When Jiraiya got to the Hokage building, he wasn't really prepared to speak to anyone, especially his old sensei. Jiraiya approached the door to the Hokage's office after moving slowly through the Hokage building. Jiraiya simply entered Hiruzen's office without knocking. Jiraiya glanced at the sleeping infant in the cradle he noticed next to his desk. Jiraiya remarked sorrowfully, "It looks like he's going to look just like his father." Hiruzen's gaze lowered. The expression on Jiraiya's face broke his heart. "Yes, he will look a lot like him," Hiruzen said. "How long will you be staying, Jiraiya?" Never taking her eyes off the baby in the crib, Jiraiya answered, "Sorry, I can't stay long, and I don't think I should take the boy with me even if I am his godfather. Where's Kakashi? He should be able to care for the boy while I'm away." Hiruzen gave a headshake. It wouldn't be good for him. Minato wasn't the only one close to him who died last night. Jiraiya's gaze widened. "You don't mean?" "Yes," Hiruzen said sadly. "I'm sorry to say Rin also perished in the attack." Jiraiya sagged down in a seat. "I see," alongside Kakashi. Kakashi did not attend the funeral. He simply couldn't, not because he didn't want to. The funeral did not frighten him. No, that was completely untrue. He simply didn't know how to handle losing everyone he cared about last night. He simply wandered around the town. He was left with only the eye that Rin had implanted in him after Obito had left him. The fact that Minato's son was still alive was unknown to Kakashi. Like so many others, Kakashi ended up at the memorial stone in one of the training grounds where Obito's name was engraved. As if expecting the stone to respond to him, he said, "I'm sorry, my friend. I couldn't keep my promise after all." Standing there, Kakashi gazed at the stone. His career as a shinobi was all that remained. Even when people came by to pay their respects, Kakashi remained motionless at the stone for 3 more hours. He never took his eyes off the stone. Kakashi let out a sigh. He was thirsty. After wandering around Konoha's streets, Kakashi came upon a nearly deserted bar close to the village's edge. When he entered, he saw that Jiraiya shared his thought. Beside the Toad Sannin, Kakashi took a seat. Uncertain of what to say, Jiraiya gazed at him. Sitting in silence, the two of them drank. Kakashi set his drink down. He inquired, "How do you deal with it?" Jiraiya gave up alcohol. "When you find that out, please tell me," the Toad Sannin said in a tone that was broken. Once more, the two sat in utter silence until Jiraiya made the decision that he should leave. Kakashi turned to face Jiraiya as she walked out of the bar. He asked the Toad Sannin, "So, when are you going to be back?" Jiraiya halted. The Toad Sannin simply said, "I don't know," before leaving the bar. After 10 years, the day the Kyuubi attacked had been 10 years ago. For one Naruto Uzumaki, the day was pretty much like any other. As usual, he had no one with whom to celebrate his birthday. He tried to hide from everyone on this particular day of the year. Up until the start of the Kyuubi festival, Naruto was safe from any beatings. He had no idea why he was targeted on this day each year. He believed it might be related to the birthmarks on his face that resembled whiskers. He was not entirely sure. He was followed around the town by a young Hyuga girl. She fell deeply in love with him after meeting him at the Ninja Academy. She was drawn to him because he was always so self-assured and nothing ever seemed to bring him down. Unfortunately, she was nearly the complete opposite. As she followed him around another corner, Hinata grinned. She clung to the gift she intended to leave at his door later that day. Ever since she had met him, she had done the same thing every year. She could never bring herself to admit that she was the one who gave Naruto the gifts, even though he always seemed to enjoy them. When she learned that Naruto had no family or friends, she became depressed. At the village's front gates after a decade away, Jiraiya had finally made it back to the village. Jiraiya was about to head out again when he noticed a replica of the 4th Hokage strolling down the street. Damn it! How could I forget today was the 10th of October? I should just come back tomorrow or something. The girl had pink hair, and the boy was attempting to ask her out. Jiraiya leapt to the rooftops to observe the action. He watched Naruto for 5 minutes before noticing a young girl with indigo hair trailing behind him. A Hyuga? He pondered before noticing the gift she was holding. Well, the child's birthday is today. How many friends does he have? Jiraiya pondered. Alongside Naruto. Ah, come on, Sakura-chan, I'm paying, Naruto grinned. Never, cried the pink-haired banshee, slamming her fist into Naruto's head. People grinned as they stood in the streets. When the boy was beaten, they adored it. Hinata scowled. She never understood why the villagers seemed to despise him or why Sakura always struck him. Hinata let out a sigh. Perhaps this year or something, she would at least speak to him. She detested feeling uneasy in his presence. When Jiraiya saw what the girl with the pink hair did, he scowled. She only hit the boy after he asked her out. But that wasn't the main thing that irritated him. After she struck Naruto, the villagers smirked. As Naruto stood up, he saw the girl with the pink hair run away. He noticed the young Hyuga girl's worried expression as he turned to face her. Why hasn't she visited him yet, I wonder? Jiraiya pondered. After a minute of contemplation, he concluded that the girl must be extremely shy. Naruto checked the clock. His eyes widened, and he fled as if something had gone wrong. Jiraiya made the decision to go with him. He discovered that Naruto had hurried home and secured his door, all of the shutters, and everything else in his dilapidated apartment. Jiraiya was totally perplexed by what Naruto was doing. When Jiraiya finally looked at the apartment closely, he became enraged. Die demon! And several other phrases were graffitied on it, along with some images. He watched as the young girl dropped the gift at the front door after climbing the stairs. She had made one knock and fled. Jiraiya saw the expression in Naruto's eyes as he swiftly unlocked the door and picked up the gift. The boy was ecstatic. Naruto opened the gift quickly, and as he took out a frog wallet, his eyes brightened. He cherished it. He received a sleeping cap last year and a little chest to store personal belongings in before that. Once again, he was disappointed to discover that the person who had left the gift was no longer present. At least he knew someone cared enough to remember his birthday, which made him happy despite his sadness. Naruto heard a few people strolling along the road. He hurriedly shut the door and leapt out of a window that he had set up to lock after him. Jiraiya continued to be baffled by Naruto's actions. Jiraiya called forth a tiny toad. The toad nodded, and Jiraiya started to follow Naruto once more. You stay here and watch the apartment and tell me what happens here while I'm gone. In some way, Jiraiya lost Naruto. How in the hell did he escape from me? Standing in the shadow of one of the buildings, he pondered. Jiraiya went to a bar in order to wait for Naruto to reappear. Jiraiya became enraged at what he was hearing while he was drinking in the bar. One person questioned, have they found the demon child yet? Another person said, no, it looks like it will be another uneventful year. Jiraiya's glass broke in his grasp. Someone would perish if he stayed. Jiraiya glared at him after the bartender told him to pay for what he had broken. The man simply sank into the bar. The old man didn't even want to talk to Jiraiya at the moment, but he should go check on him. He was aware of it. The day he left the village, he ought to have simply taken the boy with him. Jiraiya let out a sigh. As the Kyuubi festival got underway, he heard laughter and applause. So it seems Hiashi's daughter is the one who has a crush on Naruto, Jiraiya thought to himself as he watched Hiashi and the young child from earlier walk beside him. Jiraiya observed as Hiashi was questioned by his daughter. She bolted toward Naruto's apartment after he nodded. The toad Jiraiya had left at Naruto's apartment jumped down in front of him a few minutes later. Jiraiya nodded and leapt to the rooftops when he heard, Jiraiya. Naruto returned to his apartment. He found Naruto on the ground, being battered, at his house. The young Hyuga girl was attempting to assist him, but she was helpless against the two Chunin. Jiraiya caught Hinata before she hit the ground after she was knocked away. He said, please stay here. I'll help the kid out, with a smile. She replied with a nod. Naruto was barely conscious. Before he lost consciousness, all he could see was Hinata attempting to protect him from harm. Jiraiya wanted blood. He was furious. After grabbing the back of each Chunin's head, he started slamming their faces into the ground. What the hell is wrong with you people? He continued to slam their faces into the floor and drag them back out with each word. Naturally, they were both unconscious and had bruises and blood on their faces by the time that was over. Jiraiya was unconcerned. He threw them as hard as he could at the festival stands after taking in the scene. The two took off into the sky. They destroyed 2 rides, 4 stands, and other items. After carrying the unconscious Naruto to Hinata, Jiraiya said, "Thank you for caring about him. Please don't tell anyone about that." Hinata nodded before retreating with a shunshin. 4 Anbu appeared just as Jiraiya was leaving. One person asked Hinata, "What happened here?" After everything that had happened, she finally fainted. The young Hyuga heiress was picked up by the Anbu wearing the dog mask, who then gave the other 3 instructions to take her home. With a sigh, Dog went to inform the Hokage. In the office of the Hokage, Dog showed up in the office of the Hokage. Dog informed the elder Hokage that 2 Chunin had been killed and that Naruto's apartment had been vandalized once more. Hiruzen let out a sigh. "I see. Tell me why I always have to look after the boy." "I mean, there are better things I could be doing with my time," Dog said casually. Hiruzen opened a drawer and displayed Kakashi Naruto's birth certificate after deciding it was time to find out. Dog removed his mask and asked, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" The elderly Hokage got up and moved toward one of the windows, saying, "Kakashi, you were a broken man after the Kyuubi attacked. Jiraiya and I both thought it was best for you not to know. I know I was in bad shape, but you still should have told me. I had the right to know," he shouted. "Maybe you're right, but I can't do anything to change what has already happened. Now that you know the truth, you still, for the time being, cannot interact with Naruto or talk to him about his heritage. Am I understood?" Kakashi complained fiercely. Venom oozed from every word of course, Hokage. Sama. Not a word. Even though Kakashi was upset with the elderly man, he would not defy the command. At the home of Jiraiya, Jiraiya waited for Naruto to awaken while sitting next to a bed in which he had placed the boy. Soon after, Naruto opened his eyes to discover that he was lying on a bed in a room. Jiraiya exclaimed, well, look who finally woke up," with joy. "Who are you?" inquired Naruto. He smiled and exclaimed, "Me? I'm the Toad Sage, Jiraiya. Let me ask you a question. Do you have any dreams?" "I want to become Hokage," yelled Naruto as he bounded out of bed. Jiraiya grinned. Jiraiya asked, "Why do you want to become Hokage?" To find out if the boy had a valid reason. The boy boasted, "I want to protect the village like the 4th Hokage." With a broad smile. Naruto's expression darkened slightly as he said, "Then everyone will look up to me instead of down on me." "Very well, kid. How about I teach you how to become a shinobi?" said Jiraiya, who appeared to be both smiling and frowning. Looking at him, Naruto said, "But I'm already going to the academy to become one." Jiraiya grinned. "True, but I can teach you many things they never could. Plus, I trained the 4th Hokage, and you said you wanted to be Hokage, right?" His eyes were as big as dinner plates as Naruto gazed at him. "Of course I do, but what about becoming a ninja of the village?" Jiraiya didn't know why he wanted to be a ninja in the village that detested him, but he would support Minato's son if he wanted to be Hokage. "I'll take care of that. I know the old man, but for the next 2 to 3 years or so, we will leave the village while I train you. I will even teach you some of the 4th's original techniques." Naruto considered the offer. The man's life wouldn't be any worse than it was now, even if he was lying. However, if this man's claims were accurate, he could be a powerful ninja and accomplish his goals. He also recalled, though he wasn't really listening at the time, hearing something in class about a Toad Sage. "All right, you have a deal. When do we leave?" "Tomorrow, but you can't tell anyone we're leaving. For now, not even the Hokage will know you're gone, and when they do find out you're missing, well, they will most likely think you ran away," Jiraiya said. He saw Jiraiya shake his head, and asked, "So I can't tell anyone?" As Naruto considered it, he looked down. He questioned, "So I can't even tell Iruka?" "Sorry, kid. I want the Hokage to squirm for a bit, so you can't tell Iruka, because he will tell the Hokage." "He's the only person you wanted to tell?" Naruto sat there with a dejected expression on his face and said, "Yeah, aside from the folks at Ichiraku's, there really isn't anyone else." Jiraiya scowled. Jiraiya thought of Hinata, who had followed him around and even left him that gift, and exclaimed, "That's not true, kid. There's one very nice girl who will miss you. She even made an attempt to protect him from a pair of Chunin." Naruto inquired, "You mean Sakura-chan?" Jiraiya frowned. "No, I don't mean her. What do you see in her anyhow? All I've seen her do to you is hit you. Quite hard, I might add," Jiraiya replied. Naruto considered it. Now that he thought about it, he really had no idea what he saw in her. She only screamed at him and repeatedly struck him. Indeed, she was well liked and somewhat attractive. He assumed he was doing it to attract everyone's attention because she also received a lot of it. She obviously detested him, so that was not going to occur. Well, now that I think about it, I guess I was just doing it to get noticed because people liked her. He responded, but who are you talking about? Asked Naruto. Naruto glanced at his toad wallet and said, I'm talking about the same girl that gave you that present. Jiraiya went on, she's in your ninja class, too. Naruto considered it. Hinata was the only girl who never treated him badly. Naruto said softly, well, Hinata was never mean to me, but she never talks to me, either. I thought she hated me. Kid, that's what we like to call extremely shy. Just talk to her tomorrow or something during class, and see what happens. I'm not saying you should go out with her right off the bat. Just talk to her, Jiraiya said. Jiraiya grinned. How about this? You can tell Hinata you will be leaving the village for 2 to 3 years, and see the reaction on her face. Maybe then you'll understand, Jiraiya said as he got up. Naruto was 10 years old at the time. He would try it even though he had no idea what Jiraiya was getting at. Wait, what about Iruka or the old man? The old man was supposed to be looking after you for me and he failed. So right now, I just want him to sweat for the few years you're gone. Also, sorry to say this Naruto, but Iruka would tell the old man in a heartbeat even if you asked him not to. Now get some sleep, Naruto. I need to go handle a few things before tomorrow, Jiraiya said as she walked away. Naruto returned to the bed, which was rather conformable, and dozed off. The following day at the academy, Naruto had not yet spoken to Hinata during the academy's lunch break. At last, Naruto made the decision to approach and speak with her. His eyes snapped open as he closed them, recalling the attack from the previous evening. He alarmed some of the children around him by exclaiming, wait a minute. Hinata was there trying to help me, as he spoke. Naruto approached Hinata, who appeared very anxious. Hi, Hinata. Thanks for trying to help me out last night, Naruto replied. He didn't know why he was anxious. Hinata was too anxious to speak, so she blushed as Naruto spoke to her. Naruto took a seat beside her. Naruto whispered, I'm going to be leaving the village soon, and then noticed her expression change from one of embarrassment to one of extreme concern. I suppose she is genuinely concerned, he reflected. It will only be for 2 to 3 years, so I'll be back to graduate from the academy. I'm going to go train with the Toad Sage, Jiraiya, he said with his trademark grin. Hinata had once seen the man's photos in a book. Hinata inquired, so, you're coming back then? The fact that Naruto would be gone for so long made her very sad. Yep, he said. When I get back, would you like to grab a bite to eat sometime? Replied Naruto. Hinata grinned as she glanced at him. S's. Sure, I'd love to, Naruto.kun. But you can't tell anyone I'm leaving. Promise you won't tell anyone, Naruto begged. The two returned to class after Hinata promised not to tell. The remainder of the day flew by. The fact that Naruto never spoke to Sakura or even glanced at her astounded everyone. All of Naruto's personal belongings were gone when he returned to his apartment, but he did discover a note on his bed. Hey, Naruto. I've already gathered your things. Just meet me back at my place. Naruto grinned as he discovered that Jiraiya was being honest about himself when he looked him up on his way home. Naruto couldn't wait to receive training and even pick up some of the fourth's jutsu. On his way to Jiraiya's place, he checked to make sure he wasn't being followed. Jiraiya's door opened when he knocked. When Jiraiya said, good. You're here. We should just leave now, then, she smiled. Feeling foolish that he had missed it, Naruto remarked, you were right about Hinata. She did seem to care. It didn't help that she had been giving him gifts for years while he never did the same for her. Jiraiya chuckled. Don't feel bad, Naruto. I'm older, it's just easier for me to notice these kinds of things, Jiraiya comfortingly remarked. After Jiraiya performed a few hand seals, they both vanished from the room and the village completely. Now stand here next to me. Leaving for Myobokuzen, Jiraiya and Naruto made a comeback in Myobokuzen. An old toad named Fukasaku welcomed them. Welcome, Jiraiya and his young guest, to Myobokuzen, home of the Toad Clan. Naruto became frightened. He cried out, what? A talking toad. Jiraiya chuckled. He had neglected to inform Naruto of their destination. Jiraiya said, yep, talking toads, but this place is where we will live and train for the next few years, Naruto, to which Gamakichi leapt. Gamakichi said, hey, who's the new guy? Fukasaku gave the baby toad a look. This is Naruto Uzumaki. He is Jiraiya's new student. He will be staying here for the next 2 to 3 years, training, and may even be the successor to the toad contract, he told the young toad. Satisfied with the response, Gamakichi grinned and hopped off to play. When Jiraiya said, "Hey, Naruto, why don't you look around? Fukasaku and I need to talk about a few things," Naruto grinned and hurried off to investigate. "I'm going to be teaching him everything I can, Fukasaku." "Yes, I understand that, Jiraiya, but why is he here? What happened?" Fukasaku responded. Jiraiya started telling Naruto what had transpired in the village. To put it mildly, the older toad was incensed. The old toad growled, "Jiraiya, you should have completed the task the fox began." Jiraiya agreed with the old wise man and nodded. "Yeah, but the kid wants to be Hokage, and a ninja of the village still. I'm going to help him. Please don't tell him about Kyuubi or who his parents are. I don't think he's old enough to understand why Minato did it," Jiraiya said. Although he was unhappy about withholding something from the boy, he was genuinely unsure of Naruto's reaction. Fukasaku remarked, "Very well, Jiraiya. Train him as much as you can, but nothing too dangerous," as Naruto returned from scanning the area. As the older toad asked, "So, did you have fun looking around?" Naruto, eager to get started, said, "Yeah, it's great around here, so when can we start training?" Jiraiya chuckled. "Not today, Naruto. We'll start in the morning, I'll show you to your room, and then you can go play with Gamakichi for a while after. I'll start writing your training schedule down," Jiraiya said with a grin on his face. "Naruto isn't here again," Iruka said as he watched all of his students enter the Ninja Academy to start class 2 days later. "There must be a problem," he thought. "Mizuki, take over for me. I have to go check something out," Mizuki grinned. After leaving the classroom, Iruka made his way straight to Naruto's apartment. When he got to Naruto's apartment, he approached the door and knocked, but nobody picked up. The doorknob was unlocked when he checked it. "That is odd," Iruka reflected. When Iruka entered Naruto's apartment, he noticed that all of Naruto's clothes and personal belongings were gone. Iruka exclaimed in a panic, "This isn't good. I have to go inform the Hokage of this." In order to tell the Hokage what he had discovered, Iruka sprinted as quickly as he could across the rooftops. Iruka reached the tower of the Hokage. He chose to use the window rather than a door. Iruka yelled, "Hokage! Sama, Naruto is missing." Hiruzen said, "Calm down, Iruka. What makes you think he's missing?" Iruka explained in a worried tone, "I was just at his apartment. All his personal items were gone. All that was left was the furniture." Iruka called the council together. "You have 5 minutes." Hiruzen's eyes widened, and Iruka bowed before hastily departing to gather the council. "Dog, I need you to go search the village for any traces of Naruto," Hiruzen said. Dog entered the room, bowed, and then walked out to follow instructions. The elderly Hokage rose from his chair and made his way to the council room. Iruka assembled the council in 5 minutes as instructed. In front of the council, Iruka gave an explanation for his belief that Naruto was missing. Dog entered the room carrying Pakun, one of his dag summons. With a sigh, the elderly Hokage said, "What did you find?" "I went to Naruto's apartment. Just as Iruka said, it seems all his personal items are gone. I called Pakun here to get his scent, but it doesn't lead anywhere outside of the village. It seems he's not in the village either," Dog said. Everyone began to converse with one another. "We should send out Hunter Ninja right away," exclaimed one of the civilian council members, and the other members concurred. Kaharu, Homura, and Danzo did the same. "No, but the Inuzuka should search for him. He's an invaluable asset to this village, after all," Hiruzen said. Sume Inuzuka declared, "Of course. The Inuzuka clan will begin immediately, before heading out to collect her trackers. Heishi, please have some of your clan make a sweep of the village just to be sure he is not still here." "As you wish, Hokage." Sama, shot back Heishi. Heishi went off to get some Hyuga members so they could start sweeping the village. Heishi detested the boy, but he followed orders because he didn't want to express his feelings to anyone. "Well, if none of you have anything else to add, this emergency meeting is adjourned," Hiruzen stated. They all started to slowly leave the room without saying anything. Naruto was never despised by the clan leaders. Sincerely, they all believed that he would have had a better life if he had left the village, but orders are orders. There were 3 clan heads left. They were discussing Naruto. The fact that the Hokage was still seated had escaped their notice. Shikaku Nara casually told his friends Inoichi Yamanaka and Shuza Akamichi, "To be honest, I hope we don't find him. Those civilian council members and the other 3 old prunes make his life miserable." "Yes. That certain event took many lives from all our clans, but that's no reason to take it out on the boy," Inoichi continued. The sound of someone leaving their seat caused them all to turn. The Hokage said, "The 3 of you are right. It is no reason to take it out on the boy," But that is what fear, anger, and grief can do to people. As he started to slowly leave the room after the third person got up, it was obvious that Naruto's disappearance had upset him. In the academy, Iruka returned to the classroom and declared that Naruto had vanished. The majority expressed shock at Naruto's disappearance. Others, such as Sasuke Uchiha and his admirers, showed no interest. Iruka glanced around the room before focusing on Hinata, who he knew had a thing for the blonde knucklehead. Hinata had a bad mood. Even though she was aware that Naruto had left 4 days prior, the absence of Naruto made everything seem so gloomy and melancholy. She was thrilled when he spoke to her the other day, but it dawned on her that he might be gone for 3 years. The majority of the class started discussing Naruto. They never imagined that he would flee. Though she vowed not to, Hinata wanted to say something. Leaving for Myobokuzen, it had been a week since Naruto and Jiraiya left the village. He was working on the clone technique at the moment, but it wasn't working out too well. Jiraiya observed Naruto's repeated attempts, but each time the clone appeared as a sickly looking Naruto. Jiraiya was baffled as to why it always seemed that way. Even though Naruto was doing everything correctly, it kept happening. The older toad seated beside him was asked by Jiraiya, "So Fukasaku, what do you think? Have you tried a technique that uses more chakra? He may just not be able to control something that uses so little chakra at the present time," the elderly toad suggested. Jiraiya considered it. There was no harm in trying, but it didn't exactly make sense. Jiraiya searched his pack for additional cloning methods. Well, clone shadows. This should help him in his training if he can master it, Jiraiya thought. He shouted for Naruto to hear him. "Yo, Naruto. Come here for a sec. We're going to take a different approach." Jiraiya was approached by Naruto. "A new jutsu," exclaimed Naruto. He was ecstatic. "Yes. This is a more difficult jutsu than the normal clone jutsu. It's called Shadow Clone," Jiraiya clarified. Now the Shadow Clone jutsu is different from normal clones, because it can create a solid clone that can attack and use jutsu just like you. Now study the scroll and practice till you get it down. If you need help, Fukasaku and I will be right here to help you, Jiraiya said with a grin on his face. Naruto exclaimed, "Awesome, I'll start right now," and dashed to the open field to get going. Sitting there, the two observed. Naruto's excitement was refreshing to them. Fukasaku was astounded that despite everything he had heard about Naruto's ordeal in the Leaf Village, the boy could still be so content and enjoy life. "It's amazing how happy that boy can be after all the crap he's had to go through," the older toad said, sipping his tea. "Yeah, I know. I don't think anyone could say they could stay that cheerful after dealing with what he has," replied Jiraiya. The older toad added, "Or sane," and Jiraiya nodded. For the next few hours, the two sat there and observed the boy's attempts to learn the jutsu. "I did it. I learned the jutsu." Naruto excitedly jumped in the air as he ran over to them, happier than ever. "Good, now show us," Jiraiya said with a smile. Grinning, Naruto made the necessary hand gesture. As Naruto exclaimed, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," a clone materialized beside him. "Very good. Now show me how many you can make at one time," Jiraiya replied. Naruto was delighted to do so. Exclaiming, "Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu," was Naruto. When the enormous cloud of smoke dissipated, Jiraiya and Fukasaku were visibly astounded by the sheer quantity of clones. Each of the roughly 1,500 Naruto clones that were staring back at them was grinning. With his mouth agape, the older frog exclaimed, "My word, Jiraiya. I've never seen someone create so many shadow clones at one time." "Jiraiya, I don't think anyone has," she said. "This is going to be a long 3 years, Jiraiya," the frog sage said. Jiraiya replied with a nod. Nearly 3 years later, "Well, Naruto, you've done well since you came here. I taught you like I promised, and you mastered everything I taught you," Jiraiya said with a pleased tone as they sat on a log at Myobokuzen and ate. Naruto yelled, "Yeah, I can't wait to show everyone what I can do." Jiraiya chuckled. "Sorry, kid, but you can't just go showing off everything I taught you, at least not just yet." Naruto complained, "But pervy. Sage, why not?" The two were seated next to Gamakichi and Fukasaku, who started to roll over with laughter. Trying to control his laughter, Fukasaku exclaimed, "My, that's the perfect nickname for you, Jiraiya." Jiraiya tried to ignore Gamakichi and Fukasaku, who were still laughing, and said, "Because I said so, Naruto. You can use some of the ninjutsu I taught you, including the shadow clones, but not the Rasengan. Got it?" Naruto answered, "But what if I have no other choice?" "Well, if you find yourself in a situation where there's no other choice, I guess then, but other than then, not until I say so," Jiraiya said with a firm voice. "Fine," said Naruto. Jiraiya's refusal to let Naruto demonstrate his newfound knowledge baffled him. Good. We'll be returning home within the week, since the academy has its graduation exams soon, Jiraiya said. Naruto grinned. Although he was thrilled to be returning home, he wasn't immediately thinking about becoming a village ninja when he considered doing so. Returning to the village, Hinata let out a sigh. Naruto had been gone for nearly 3 years, and she was beginning to fear that he would never return. When she looked up, Kiba was approaching her, probably to ask her out again. "Hey, Hinata, want to go on a date sometime?" replied Kiba. Hinata tried not to offend Kiba by saying, "Sorry, Kiba. I like you, but as a friend, nothing more," in a kind manner. Kiba laughed and sighed. "Yeah, I know, but a guy can dream, can't he?" Even though he knew she would say no once more, he still tried. When class ended, Hinata made her way to the Hyuga estate on foot. She made her way to the Hyuga compound by walking through the village's streets and alleys. This place has never really appealed to Hinata. Her generosity caused her to be despised by the majority of the Hyuga main branch. They thought it was a needless vulnerability. Hinata was depressed because her father had rejected her. He had abandoned her training in favor of Hanabi, her younger sister. In Myobokuzen, Jiraiya had explained to Naruto a year prior why the villagers detested him, but he had not yet had a conversation with the so-called beast. Naruto was in his room, contemplating the Kyuubi. "Well, I wonder how I could communicate with the Kyuubi in the first place," Naruto pondered. Naruto was dragged from reality and into his mind, where he materialized in front of a massive gate, just as he was finishing that thought. "Welcome to my humble abode," growled the enormous fox. Naruto addressed the enormous fox, saying, "So, you're the fox that made my life hell?" "That I am. Why is it you wish to speak with me?" the giant fox said, laughing. Naruto sat down in front of the cage and said, "Well, since you're stuck inside me, I thought, why not talk to you?" Although Naruto had heard that the Kyuubi was a terrifying demon, he didn't appear to be that horrible. This boy intrigued the giant fox. The boy's words were sincere. Nothing in his voice suggested that he was lying. The fox was caught off guard by it. In his enormous cage, the Kyuubi lowered himself until he was eye level with the boy. With genuine incomprehension, the fox questioned, "So, you just want to get to know me? Why is that? I made your life hell, yet you wish to get to know me?" Naruto said, "Yeah, is there something wrong with that?" "No, nothing," chuckled the enormous fox. "You're quite an interesting child, Naruto. I've met and killed many of your kind, but you are the first to make me rethink my view of humans as being nothing more than leeches upon this world. Take the people in your village, for instance. They should view you as a hero, yet they see you as nothing more than me in disguise. However, you still wish to protect them and become the Hokage of the village." The Kyuubi paused his rant to reconsider the final portion. "Well, I shouldn't make it sound as if everyone thinks that. There are a few who view you as the jailer and not me. Yet, they would never actually try and causally talk to me, like you are," the fox replied. This boy really captivated him. Even though he had only spoken to the boy for a brief period of time, the fox was starting to like the boy who was his prison. "So, fox, why does this place look like some crappy sewer?" replied Naruto. "How should I know? It's your mind," explained the fox with a funny laugh. "Now it's time for you to go." "I need time to think," the demon fox said, forcing Naruto to return to reality after escaping his mindscape. The fox thought to himself, "That boy looks just like the man who sealed me. I wonder," before he closed his eyes and went to sleep. Within the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen was occupied with sorting through the genin who stood a chance of passing the final exams, but he was falling short for 3 complete teams. Even though he requested that Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino be placed on the same team, he still had 5. He was aware that if Sasuke, the last of the Uchiha, didn't have a complete team, the council would be furious. Hiruzen muttered to himself, "Well, I suppose it will be Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba as their tracker then." This left him with a problem. He still had Shino Aburame and Hinata Hyuga. Hiruzen let out a sigh. The elderly Hokage remarked to himself, "Well, I'll just deal with this on the day of the exams." Hiruzen closed the file in the drawer of his desk. He noticed the Naruto photo he kept on his desk at all times. "When you were here, Naruto, everything was so much brighter," Hiruzen reflected. At the memorial stone, Kakashi merely reflected on his past while standing at the memorial stone. Nearly a year had passed since he resigned as Anbu Black Ops commander. Kakashi let out a sigh. He recalled the moment he learned that Naruto was Minato's son. When he learned, Kakashi felt conflicted, but he was furious with the third Hokage for not informing him sooner. Kakashi had intended to spend some free time getting to know the boy better, but the boy vanished without a trace. Kakashi bowed. "Sorry, sensei. Seems like I messed up again." The Hokage informed Kakashi that he had a special assignment for him, so he shunned away to pick up his next mission. The Hokage's office was where Kakashi first appeared. "You're late, Kakashi," Hiruzen informed the Junin with one eye. "Yeah. Sorry about that. Now what was this special assignment you need me for?" Kakashi responded. Although Hiruzen was aware that Kakashi would not want to accept this assignment, the council had insisted that Kakashi do so. "Kakashi, you have been given the responsibility of leading Team 7, Hiruzen said, passing him a file containing the genin names. With a sigh, Kakashi questioned, "Do I get a choice in the matter?" "Sorry Kakashi, you don't," Hiruzen had answered. Kakashi let out a sigh. He would have to deal with it even though he really didn't want to play against a genin team. "In Myobokuzen, hey, pervy sage, why don't we give the old man a scare when we get back?" said Naruto. "Well, kid, what you have in mind?" Jiraiya asked with a sly smile. Jiraiya wanted to exact revenge on Hiruzen for failing to provide Naruto with the proper care. Naruto clarified his intention, saying, "Well, since I have the Kyuubi in me, why don't I use a transformation jutsu and add foxtails and ears? I'm sure that will scare crap out of him." Jiraiya exclaimed, "Naruto. That's brilliant," Jiraiya yelled. "We'll work for the next 4 days to make sure it's perfect." He was going to love the way his old sensei reacted. Naruto changing into a fox and showing up in front of the Hokage was a brilliant idea, according to even the Kyuubi. In order to frighten the elderly man, Naruto immediately began practicing his transformation jutsu. The following week, in the village sitting in her room was Hinata. She had trouble falling asleep. She couldn't take her eyes off Naruto. By now he should have been home. He promised to return prior to the genin exams. Hinata was at her breaking point. She intended to discuss Naruto with the Hokage. In order to speak with the Hokage, Hinata stealthily left the Hyuga compound in her window. In the meantime, in the office of the Hokage it was late. Hiruzen had some paperwork to complete, but the majority of the people at the Hokage Tower had already left for the night. Hiruzen was worn out. He had been reviewing the paperwork for this year's Chunin exams. He was still trying to figure out how he would cover the void in the genin teams. At that moment, a cloud of smoke brought 2 people into the room. As the smoke subsided, he noticed Jiraiya and when he saw Naruto waving in the air with his fox ears and tails, his mind came to a complete stop. The elderly Hokage thumped to the ground. Jiraiya felt like he was going to die from laughter. Jiraiya approached the desk of the 3rd Hokage and peered behind it. "I think you killed him, Naruto." "I didn't kill him." Naruto whimpered as he went to check the old man's pulse after undoing the transformation. Naruto, relieved that he had not killed the elderly man, exclaimed, "See, he's just unconscious." In his mind, Naruto could hear the fox laughing. Jiraiya and Naruto sat around, anticipating the elderly man's awakening. "Oh, my head," Hiruzen muttered as he stood up to see Jiraiya and a smiling Naruto without any fox features as the elderly Hokage started to stir. "So he was with you the entire time?" asked the elderly man as Hiruzen glared at Jiraiya. He was obviously upset. "Yep, and he was safer with me than he was here in this village, getting beaten up outside his own apartment," Jiraiya responded. "So then, why are you back?" the elderly Hokage asked, looking down in embarrassment. "Well, believe it or not, the kid said he wants to become Hokage. He has to finish the academy to do that, and if I'm not mistaken, it ends tomorrow," Jiraiya responded. At that moment, Hinata Hyuga entered the Hokage's office as the door opened. It had been years since Naruto last saw her. He hurried over and gave her a hug without her realizing what he had done. "Naruto-kun is giving me a hug," was all that was on the young girl's mind prior to her fainting. With pride, Jiraiya declared, "He's a lady killer already." Incredulously perplexed, Naruto asked, "Why did Hinata-chan pass out?" The 2 senior ninja chuckled at the adorable scene in front of them. "Everything seems so much less serious when that boy is around," Jiraiya reflected. "So, old man, will there be any problem with him taking the genin exams tomorrow?" Jiraiya responded. Jiraiya turned to Naruto before Hiruzen could respond, asking, "Could you wait outside for me, Naruto? And take Hinata with you?" "See you in a bit, old man," Naruto said as he left the room after nodding and picking Hinata up bridal style. "The boy seems a bit more mature than he did before. I hope he didn't turn into a pervert like yourself," said Hiruzen. Jiraiya chuckled. "No, but he found my books and nicknamed me Pervy Sage." Hiruzen chuckled and inquired, "Jokes aside, how would you rank his abilities?" To be completely honest, I don't really know anymore. He's been hiding what he can really do, and what he's mastered, replied Jiraiya. Well, no matter, it's really not that important, I suppose. Rewind. Naruto had recently finished adding salt water to one of Gamabunta's sake drums. While waiting for Gamabunta to get some sake, Naruto sat on a hill a considerable distance away and laughed. Gamabunta always drank some sake at this time of day, so Naruto didn't have to wait long. 5, 4, 3, 2. Naruto started to count down, but he was interrupted by Gamabunta's shout. Gamabunta yelled, "What the hell is this? Salt water, Naruto." For the next few days, Naruto made the decision to become scarce. Jiraiya had been following this whole thing. He was unable to contain his laughter. Flashback ends recalling how furious the Toad Boss was for the next few days. Jiraiya shuddered. Jiraiya nodded in agreement with Hiruzen's assessment, saying, "So you took him to Myobokuzen? I see. So he can probably summon toads now as well?" Jiraiya repeated, "Anyhow, about Naruto taking the exams tomorrow? If he's been training with you for almost 3 years, I don't see why not. Although the council will probably be causing me headaches over this," Hiruzen said with a little irritation. Jiraiya answered, "Wouldn't be the first time, old man." Alongside Naruto was holding an unconscious Hinata while he waited on a bench outside the Hokage's office. He gave her a downward glance. She had such a serene appearance. Thought aloud, "I wonder if she really does like me as more than a friend," Naruto said. The fox said angrily, "Idiot, of course she likes you as more than a friend. She's been following you for years." The fox was asked by Naruto, "How would you know?" "Because I can hear and see what you do, and sometimes more than you dense idiot," replied the fox. Naruto shot back, "Don't call me an idiot, you stupid fox." The fox said, "Then don't act like one," and closed his eyes to return to his slumber. "Dumb fox," murmured Naruto. When Hinata started to move, Naruto was startled out of his reverie. "Hey, Hinata," Naruto said with a broad smile. Hinata leapt to her feet. She was quite anxious. Naruto said, "So, Hinata? Still want to get a bite to eat some time?" Hinata blushed a pale shade of pink. According to her, S's. "Sure, Naruto-kun." The two were unaware that Jiraiya and the third Hokage were observing them while they conversed. Hiruzen coughed to indicate their presence. "Glad to see you have a girlfriend, Naruto, but I think it would be best if you two kept your relationship a secret from the rest of the village, especially her clan," said Hiruzen. Both kids blushed at what Hiruzen said. Although it sounded exciting to date her crush in secret, Hinata didn't understand what Naruto was trying to say. "Well, Naruto, you're all set to take the Genin exam tomorrow," Jiraiya replied. Naruto was ecstatic. He leapt to his feet. Hinata grinned at his eagerness. Hiruzen told the young girl, "Now, Hinata, you'd better be getting home. It's late." "I'll offer to walk her home," Naruto said. "Naruto's going to walk me home," blushed Hinata. Hinata pondered eagerly. Naruto grinned to learn that he still had a place to live. "By the way, Naruto, your apartment has been kept up with, so it's ready for you at any time." Naruto said, "All right, later old man," and he and Hinata left the room. "Well, I think tomorrow is going to be rather interesting, don't you?" Jiraiya replied. "Yes, I suppose it will," Hiruzen remarked frowning. Not fully understanding, Jiraiya asked, "Why did you say those two had to keep their relationship a secret, old man?" "Hinata's clan hates Naruto. So does her father, Hishi. He can hide it from everyone else, but I can see the very subtle hints he gives." Hiruzen murmured, "It's not Naruto I'm worried about, though, it's Hinata. I wouldn't put it past Hishi and the clan elders to do something to her if they ever found out she was dating Naruto." "You really think Hishi would hurt his own daughter for something like that?" Jiraiya responded. "I'm afraid he's that type of man, yes, and until he does something, I cannot interfere in their clan business," replied Hiruzen. With Hinata and Naruto and Hinata were strolling through the village's streets. Since it was late, nobody was really out. Naruto shared with Hinata some of his experiences in Myobokuzen as they strolled together. When Naruto told Hinata about his trick on Gamabunta, in which he substituted salt water for his sake, Hinata burst out laughing. "Oh, and then me and Gamakichi hid all his sake. He got really angry at us for that," said Naruto. Hinata continued to laugh. She had a great time learning about Naruto's tricks. Hinata saw that the Hyuga compound was approaching. "Thanks for walking me home, Naruto-kun," Hinata said as she turned to face Naruto. Before Naruto could respond, she gave him a quick peck on the cheek and hurried away to her house. Naruto rubbed his cheek, flushed. After grinning, he turned to go to his apartment. Silently, Naruto made his way back to his apartment. He was unable to stop thinking about Hinata. Arriving at his apartment was Naruto. Naruto exclaimed, "Wow, the old man had the place cleaned up for me." Naruto was in awe. It looked cleaner than he had ever seen it. The graffiti had all disappeared. The area was a little dusty, but that wasn't something Naruto couldn't fix. He approached the door and used his old key to open it. Naruto discovered his little garden dead when he went to the back of his apartment. Naruto reflected, well, I guess it was a bit much to expect those things to still be alive. Naruto put most of his belongings away after unpacking them. Although he was glad to be home, he was also depressed because he would have to deal with the villagers once more. Now that he had a girlfriend, or at least a close friend, he would at least be a ninja of the village. Naruto became conscious. It was time to join a genin team by going to the academy. He was giddy. Naruto heard a knock on the door as he was preparing. Naruto exclaimed, I wonder who that could be. Jiraiya and the third Hokage were standing there when Naruto opened the door. The Hokage with the third smiled. The council meeting about Naruto's return to the village had just ended. Some were obviously not happy, but for once they chose to keep their traps closed. Rewind. One of the members of the civilian council questioned, why have you called us here so early in the morning? I've called the village council here today to tell you all that Naruto Uzumaki has returned to the village, Hiruzen said. They had sent out an unknown number of teams to find and bring that boy back, but he simply returned on his own without anyone noticing. Everyone just stared at the third Hokage. It was Danzo who spoke first. I assume you will tell us where the boy has been for almost 3 years. Jiraiya announced his arrival. The boy was with me. I decided to train him since you people didn't seem to care about his well-being. He did it without my knowledge as well, Hiruzen said, gesturing with his hand to deflect any questions, but he is a Sannin. He has the right and privilege to train who he wants, when he wants, if the other party accepts. Yes, and Naruto was more than happy to accept my training, Jiraiya continued. The council was powerless to protest Jiraiya's actions, and Hiruzen was right when he said that the title of Sannin came with a lot of benefits. A member of the civilian council rose to his feet. In order to avoid upsetting any members of the shinobi council with the demon brat remark, he asked, why didn't you train Sasuke Uchiha? He must surely have more potential than that child. Jiraiya told the council member, hey, I doubt it, and blew him off. Hiruzen looked around the room, but no one spoke. Now that you know Naruto has returned to the village and no one seems to wish to argue his return, we will adjourn. Unless you have something else to discuss while we're here? He asked. Hiruzen saw a lot of angry glances around him. Even Heishi briefly displayed a displeasure before returning to his typical expressionless demeanor. Flashback ends when Hiruzen announced that Naruto had returned to the village. He was still taken aback by their lack of protest, even though he had conveniently forgotten to inform them that Naruto would be a village ninja. Jiraiya investigated Naruto's flat. It was somewhat dilapidated and the furniture was not very good. He was going to take care of that later. Naruto questioned the third Hokage and pervy sage, so, what brings you guys here? Jiraiya smiled as he explained, well, we just finished the council meeting and we decided to walk with you to the academy and to make sure there were no problems with you taking the genin exams. Naruto smiled and hurried off to retrieve his belongings. Oh, alright, cool, let me just get my things, he said. After 2 minutes, Naruto emerged wearing a fresh orange jumpsuit instead of his pajamas. The three of them started to stroll through Konoha's streets. Both Hiruzen and Jiraiya observed the looks Naruto got. There was hatred for the boy in the air, but he didn't appear to be impacted at all. Naruto, don't you care that they stare at you like that? Jiraiya responded. Not really. It's been going on for so long that it just doesn't bother me anymore, said Naruto. Hiruzen and Jiraiya both sighed. It's been going on for so long that the boy didn't even give a damn that they hated him. Jiraiya laughed. Naruto, if you're going to be a ninja of this village, we need to get some new clothes for you. Other than that kill.me. Now orange jumpsuit you wear all the time. Naruto protested, but I like this jumpsuit. Jiraiya said, nope. We're getting you a new outfit before we get to the academy, clearly not wanting to argue. Naruto let out a sigh. Fine, said Naruto. The best ninja clothing store in town was reached by foot by the three of them. The owner was about to shout for the boy to leave the store when Naruto entered, but he refrained when Jiraiya and the third Hokage entered. When Jiraiya noticed that the man was going to scream at the boy, he approached him discreetly as Naruto examined various outfits. Jiraiya said in a low, menacing voice, the boy will be getting some clothes from your store. Understood? Jiraiya smiled and said, good, glad to see you're not stupid, as the man nodded in fear. He returned to Naruto and Hiruzen. At the moment, Naruto was examining a black long sleeve shirt, a black short sleeve shirt, and 2 pairs of navy blue pants that resembled those of a Junin. Naruto handed him the 2 shirts and the pants and said, "Can I get these?" Jiraiya took a look at the cost. It was rather pricey, but as long as it allowed him to get out of the orange jumpsuit that was killing him, that was all that mattered. Jiraiya looked at the time and said, "Sure. Anything else, Naruto?" "Yeah, I want a long sleeve shirt just like this, but add a red whirlpool design on the back, kind of like the one on my jumpsuit," replied Naruto. Jiraiya grabbed the clothes Naruto had chosen and said, "Sure, I'll go talk to the owner and have it made, so he could buy them." Jiraiya thought, at least it gets him out of that jumpsuit. Jiraiya gave the man an explanation of what he wanted made. Despite his dislike, the store owner complied with the request. In an hour, he would finish it. "All right. We might as well wait for the clothes. They'll be done in an hour," Jiraiya said. Hiruzen sat on a bench and remarked, "Very well. The exams don't end till noon." In the academy, everyone in the class was trying their hardest to pay attention as Iruka gave his last lecture. However, Hinata was not paying attention to him. Right now, she was lost in her own world. Her mood had changed from yesterday, and everyone in the class could see it. They were unable to determine what was causing her to be so joyful in contrast to other days. She refused to answer when Kiba tried to ask her. "All right, class. We'll start finals. You will each make as many clones as you can, then do a transformation jutsu. Now who will be first?" Iruka responded. The first to stand was Sasuke. All he wanted was for this to be over. He proceeded to the front of the class and performed the clone jutsu hand signals. There were 5 flawless clones. Disregarding the clones, Sasuke changed into Iruka. Iruka said, "Very good, Sasuke. You pass, without much surprise." Sakura and Ino encouraged their crush, alongside Naruto. The proprietor of the store just gave Naruto his shirt. He was thrilled with his new appearance. Naruto was now dressed in his black long sleeve shirt with the red whirlpool design on it and his navy blue pants. "Well, the kid looks just like his old man now with that get-up. All he needs now is a cloak to go with it," Jiraiya said, making sure that only Hiruzen could hear her as they sat on a bench. "Indeed he does. When it comes time to tell him, how do you think he'll react?" replied Hiruzen. "Good question. I'm not sure. I just hope he doesn't get too mad at us or his old man for it," Jiraiya responded. Naruto rushed toward them. Naruto yelled impatiently, "Come on, let's go already." Both of the older shinobi chuckled. Jiraiya said, "All right, but let's not walk." Jiraiya and Hiruzen both sunshined and grinned at Naruto. The 3 of them showed up in front of Naruto's former classroom door. Naruto declared, "Hey guys," as he opened the door. Everyone remained silent and simply stared at him. Everyone in the class was silent for once. "Where have you been?" "What? No, hi, how are you?" Naruto questioned. "Thought you were dead," but he received no response. After a few years of not seeing Naruto, Kiba finally recovered enough to comment. "You can't be Naruto. You're not wearing your kill.me. Now orange jumpsuit," Kiba yelled. Naruto murmured, "Was it really that bad?" to himself. Iruka approached Naruto. "Glad to see you're back. So, Naruto, where have you been for almost 3 years?" "He's been with me," Jiraiya announced. "Oh, Master Jiraiya, I see, so you were training him this whole time?" Iruka responded. Jiraiya remarked, "Yeah. He could probably beat the pants off the Uchiha kid over there," hoping to gauge the child's response. When Sasuke said, "Yeah right, once a baka, always a baka," it irritated the remaining Uchiha that Naruto didn't even listen to what Sasuke had to say. Sasuke detested being disregarded, but Jiraiya spoke before he could respond. Jiraiya casually remarked to Hiruzen, "See, old man. That's why I could never train that kid. I could never train a self-centered brat." Sasuke gave Jiraiya a fierce look, but the Toad Sage ignored the conceited youngster. "Will there be a problem with Naruto taking the finals today, Iruka?" Hiruzen inquired. "No, not if he's been training with Master Jiraiya. I don't even see why he even has to take the Genin exam," replied Iruka. "Well, honestly, I don't either, but Naruto here prefers it this way," Hiruzen replied. "Yeah, so what do I have to do?" Naruto asked eagerly, grinning. Iruka smiled and said, "Well, it's pretty easy. Just demonstrate to me how many clones you can create and perform a transformation jutsu. Multi-shadow clone jutsu." Naruto grinned as a huge cloud of smoke engulfed the room. In the midst of the smoke cloud, Naruto secretly placed a note in Hinata's lap. Iruka and the rest of the class were perplexed as the smoke cleared. Every vacant seat, as well as the walls and ceiling, were covered in Naruto clones. Clones of the shadow, Iruka thought. Hinata noticed the note Naruto had left her when she looked in her lap. She took the note and opened it. Hinata flushed and hurriedly tucked the note away before anyone saw it. "Meet me at training ground 15 around 4 p.m., she said. After dismissing the clones, Naruto prepared to use a transformation jutsu. As the fourth Hokage, Naruto changed. Only now did Iruka realize how much those two looked alike. "Well, Naruto, I have to say, you pass with flying colors," Iruka declared, throwing a headband at Naruto. Sasuke yelled, "Hey wait, why does he get special treatment?" Jiraiya gave Sasuke a laugh. "You're honestly going to bring up the subject of special treatment, O King of the Spoiled?" Nearly all of the students in the class chuckled at Sasuke. They were as aware as he was that he received a great deal of preferential treatment. To get everyone's attention, Iruka coughed in his hand. "Now tomorrow, you will come to see what teams why." Hiruzen interrupted. Hiruzen handed him the team assignment and said, "Actually, Iruka, I have the team assignments right here." "Oh, I'll just do this now, then." Team 7 is Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, and Sakura Haruno. "Your Junin sensei is Kakashi Hitaki," Iruka said. While Kiba and Ino moaned for different but apparent reasons, Sakura cheered. Team 8 is Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, and Naruto Uzumaki. "Your Junin sensei is Kurenai Yuhi," Iruka said. Shino nodded, Naruto grinned, and Hinata nearly fainted when she found out she would be on the same team as her crush. Iruka declared, Team 10 is Shikamaru Nara, Shoji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka. "Your Junin sensei is Asuma Sarutobi," as the last squad. Ino questioned, "Why aren't we Team 9, Iruka sensei?" Iruka answered, "Oh, that's because Team 9 is still active today. Well, now that I have announced the teams, I'll go call your Junin sensei now instead of tomorrow. You all can go have lunch and use the time to get to know your teammates," Iruka said as she dismissed the class. Jiraiya said, "Well Naruto, the old man and I will leave you to it. We have other things we have to get done today," and Naruto gave a nod. Shino and Hinata had moved to sit together when Naruto approached them. "How about we get something to eat and talk, since we'll be on the same team and all," said Naruto. I would like that," Shino answered. Hinata reddened. "Sure, that sounds good." Both of them nodded when Naruto said, "How about ramen? I know a great place to get some." Naruto exclaimed, "Great! Let's go!" And the three of them left the classroom. As Iruka watched Naruto and his teammates depart, he thought, now things can get back to normal around here. Shino, Hinata, and Naruto were strolling through the village to the location Naruto recommended. They noticed that every villager they passed was staring at Naruto with a hateful expression. They both had no idea why. Shino questioned, "Naruto, why do they look at you like that?" Naruto gave a shrug. Naruto said, "I'll tell you some other time," as they proceeded to walk towards the ramen stand. Given that it was a sensitive topic for Naruto, Shino chose to put it on hold for the time being. The ramen stand caught Naruto's eye. Not a thing had changed. He hurried to meet Tucci and Ayame. He hadn't seen them in a long time, and his attire had changed significantly. Naruto took a seat and bided his time until Tucci emerged. From the rear, he yelled, "Give me a minute, and I'll be right with you." Then Naruto called back, "No problem old man, whenever you're done, back." "Oh my. Look, it's Naruto. Ayame, it seems our best costumer has returned." Tucci's head bounded out from behind the wall, and she immediately came out to greet the boy. "Hey, Naruto. How have you been? Oh, and who are your friends?" said Ayame, who emerged from the rear. Naruto grinned, relieved to see that nothing had changed. He said, "I've been fine. I was just training, and these two are my new teammates," in response to both inquiries. Ayame grinned. She was happy that Naruto had returned, and it was an added bonus that he had brought some friends. Naruto ordered 5 bowls of miso ramen, while Shino and Hinata each ordered one as the three of them sat down. Tucci chuckled. He couldn't remember how much Naruto ordered at once. Tucci hurried off to prepare the orders. "So, Shino, you're part of the Aburame clan?" Ayame asked Naruto and his new teammates as he lingered. Shino gave a nod. "Doesn't your clan use your own bodies as some sort of hive for the bugs?" she inquired. "Yes we do. We're a bug-using clan, so it's beneficial to keep a living hive of the bugs we use inside us at all times," Shino said. Naruto said, "Wow, that's cool. Ayame appeared a little repulsed by the fact that he was a veritable bug hive. I think it's interesting, and it does make a lot of sense to do that, but doesn't it hurt? Hinata pondered. Shino grinned, but his coat made it impossible to see. In all honesty, he was relieved that his team didn't find him strange for being a human bug hive. I'm not sure. I was put to sleep when the procedure was performed. I suppose it does sound like it would be painful, Shino said. At that moment, a man took a seat beside Naruto on the stool. The haughty man asked, "Why is this thing here?" The man was knocked to the ground after a frying pan smashed into his face as it flew across the stand. The man spit out 2 teeth and stood up. Tucci emerged from behind. "If you don't leave right now, you'll lose more than just 2 teeth. Of that, I can assure you," Tucci said menacingly while sharpening a rather large knife. The man made the decision to walk away silently. He even kept both of his teeth. Naruto said, "Thanks, old man," as the man fled. Tucci said, "No problem Naruto, anytime," and returned to his cooking. "Sorry about that, but my dad gets like that when someone bad mouths Naruto," Ayame replied. Shino and Hinata were perplexed. Why was he treated more like an object than a person? Naruto never mentioned what had just transpired and didn't appear to want to discuss it just yet as they sat in silence. "Your orders are done," Tucci declared as she emerged with the directives. Naruto's expression brightened. "All right, ramen. I haven't had this since I left for my training with the pervy sage," he yelled. A woman entered as Tucci set the orders in front of them. The woman said, "Ah, Hinata, this is where you and your team are." Hinata turned to see Kurenai Yuhi, her friend and current sensei, standing behind her. Hinata joyfully yelled, "Kurenai, sensei," and stood up to embrace her. One of Naruto's miso ramens was shoved aside. Naruto said, "Well, sensei, you might as well eat with us," without even looking back. Kurenai said, "Thank you, I think I will," and took a seat in front of the steaming bowl of ramen. Kurenai stated, "So, Naruto, I heard you went and trained with the toad sage Jiraiya, in an attempt to engage the boy in conversation." Naruto, "Pervy sage?" "Yeah, I did," he said. Kurenai said, "Pervy sage?" Naruto explained, "Well, he may be a Sannin and a sage, but he is first and foremost a perv with no equal. That's why I call him Pervy sage," which made everyone laugh. Kurenai inquired, "So did you like it? The training that is?" As he finished his 3rd bowl of ramen, Naruto remarked, "Yeah, I liked being at Myoboku's and training with the toads." Hinata said, "Kurenai, sensei, what are we going to do today?" "Nothing today, Hinata. Tomorrow though, I will give you your final test," replied Kurenai. Naruto slurped some ramen and remarked, "What final test? We just did the test at the academy." Kurenai said, "Well, Naruto, you took your test to be Genin, that's true, but your Junin sensei, meaning me, will give you a final test," while she was eating some of her ramen. Naruto said, "Makes sense, I guess. So what do we have to do?" "You'll find out tomorrow what I have in mind for your test. Just relax for the rest of the day, and show up at Training Ground 5 tomorrow at noon," replied Kurenai. Kurenai checked the clock. 2 o'clock had arrived. The suggestion from Kurenai was, "Well, let's go walk around and get to know each other." Naruto paid for the 7 bowls of ramen that were ordered. They all got up and began to walk away. After saying, "Later, Tucci and Ayame. I'll be back tomorrow," Naruto grinned broadly. When Ayame told her father, "Well, it doesn't seem like Naruto has changed at all." Tucci cleaned some dishes and remarked, "Nah, that boy is more grown up now. He tries not to show it, but he's matured a lot since we last saw him." Alongside Kakashi was leaping from rooftop to rooftop. He had just wrapped up a conversation with his new team. Sakura and Kiba didn't bother him too much, but Sasuke was a little obsessed with the idea of getting even. Even after knowing Itachi for a long time, Kakashi was still baffled by why Itachi killed his clan. He couldn't do anything about it now, but it didn't make sense. He wasn't sure if he should train Sasuke, but he was stuck with the boy and had no other choice. It didn't bother Kakashi too much. Despite his reluctance to acknowledge it, it reminded him somewhat of both himself and Obito. He was a little annoyed that Jiraiya remained silent after hearing that Naruto had returned to the village. He had the impression that he was constantly being excluded from events that held significance for him. If Jiraiya would allow it, Kakashi hoped to be able to train Naruto a little bit in the near future. When Kakashi noticed Naruto chatting with his new teammates, he stopped. They all 4 appeared to get along quite well. He glanced around at the people staring at Naruto. How could Naruto tolerate everyone staring at him like that all the time? Kakashi pondered. If anyone else did, they would go crazy. Kakashi let out a sigh. Kakashi thought to himself, I'll just talk to Naruto later. He seems to be having a good time, and left to finish some paperwork. Alongside Naruto had just said goodbye to his teammates for the day. Nobody else knew that he was going to meet Hinata at 4 o'clock. Grinning, Naruto left for his apartment to get ready. He wanted to clean out his apartment because he hadn't done so yet, even though he had only an hour until he had to be there. Naruto had just gotten to his flat. When Kyuubi spoke to him, he was inside tidying up. Child, the Kyuubi said, quite the interesting girl you chose as your mate. With some confusion, Naruto questioned, what do you mean, mate? The Kyuubi said bluntly, mate, as in you will more than likely marry her and have little kids with her one day, which made Naruto turn to face the vault. I wasn't thinking that far ahead, you perverted fox. But now that you bring it up, I doubt that could ever happen, the fox replied to Naruto. He felt a little down. Because her clan, most of the council, and village would be against it, that just means that one day, you will have to make a choice. That choice will most likely be the hardest one you will ever make or maybe even the easiest, but when it comes time, choose wisely, the fox said in a somewhat menacing voice. Naruto questioned, what do you mean, a choice, what kind of choice? The fox remained silent, refusing to answer. Naruto made the decision to simply dismiss the fox's statement and resume his task. Naruto checked the clock. He had to meet Hinata at training ground 15 in 30 minutes. Alongside Hinata sitting in her room was Hinata. As she passed the dojo, she noticed her father complimenting her younger sister on her diligence. Hinata was, to put it mildly, depressed. She wanted someone to weep with, but it was forbidden to cry or act weakly in any way. At the moment, she looked up. 20 minutes remained until 4 o'clock. After gathering herself, she walked out of her window. Nobody in the house seemed to care as long as she returned by 8 o'clock. Naruto was seated against a tree when Hinata arrived at training ground 15. When Naruto noticed Hinata approaching him, he waved. He said, hey, Hinata-chan, with a cheerful tone. Hinata grinned. Ever since he began speaking to her, his smile seemed to make her day. As she approached Naruto, she said, hi Naruto-kun. Naruto said, sorry, I can't take you out to eat right now, with a sad tone. When Hinata saw that Naruto was carrying something behind his back, she attempted to look, but he turned away. Hinata questioned, Naruto-kun, what's behind your back? Naruto reached behind his back and took out several flowers. The first one Hinata saw was a lone white gardenia, which represented their new relationship and represented secret love. The next was a white rose, a symbol of innocence and purity that perfectly encapsulated Hinata. Her soul was innocent and pure. Purple lilacs, which stood for first love, were the last flowers she saw. For the first time in his life, Naruto was incredibly anxious. Pervy Sage said I should bring you some flowers. So I got a book on flowers to see which ones I should get, he said. Grinning, Hinata accepted the flowers. Knowing what they meant, she approached Naruto and gave him a cheek kiss. Hinata joyfully remarked, thank you, Naruto-kun. I love them. Naruto reddened. He was happy the flowers pleased her. They took a seat beneath the tree. With a joyful sigh, Hinata leaned close to Naruto. She wouldn't mind remaining this way for some time. Within the Hokage Tower, Jiraiya shouted into the crystal ball, come on, make out with the girl already. Hiruzen took the crystal ball from Jiraiya and said, stop spying on the boy, Jiraiya. He's got enough problems without you spying on him, as he entered his office. And you'd better not be using your godson and his new girlfriend as material for your next book. Why would I do something like that? Jiraiya asked naively as he began to perspire. Do you want me to list the reasons? What, hoping to see a makeout session? Hiruzen inquired. Well, I was kind of hoping, yeah, Jiraiya put back. Hiruzen let out a sigh. Jiraiya never changes, which was advantageous at times. With Hinata and Naruto and Hinata were still sitting beneath the tree an hour after they had first met at training ground 15. With her head resting on his shoulder, Hinata had her arms encircling one of his. Although she didn't want the day to end, they both understood that they would have to depart quickly in order to avoid being discovered. Hinata blushed and accepted Naruto's hand as he stood up and extended it. Sorry, Hinata. I know it wasn't a great first date, Naruto said, feeling a little sad that he was unable to take her out to dinner. Hinata said sweetly, that's okay, Naruto-kun. I still had a nice time. Naruto proposed, next time we can have a picnic or something, I just haven't had time to buy anything since I got back. Hinata grinned. That would be wonderful, Naruto-kun. After giving Naruto a hug, Hinata fled toward her house. She was very joyful. After a brief moment of standing there, Naruto started to walk toward his apartment. Naruto was consuming his breakfast late. Last night, he had a difficult time falling asleep. Naruto sighed and resumed eating instant ramen, asking himself, how can I take her out on a real date? You surprise me. You can be extremely intelligent one minute and extremely dim-witted the next, said Kyuubi. Naruto questioned, what do you mean? It was too early, and he had no desire to argue with the fox. You learned the Rasengan at age 11, but you can't even figure out a solution to a simple problem such as this, replied Kyuubi. Then Naruto said sarcastically, alright, tell me then, what's the answer? Sighing, Kyuubi remarked, it's simple. Ask the toads, as though it were the most apparent thing in the world. Still not understanding Kyuubi's point, Naruto questioned, I'm still lost. How can they help me? I suppose I'll have to spell it out for you. Ask the toads if you and Hinata could go to Myobokuzen to have your dates. They have taken a liking to you, and I don't think such a simple request will be rejected, Kyuubi replied bluntly. Naruto yelled, that's a great idea, fuzzball. I could kiss you. I'd rather you didn't, but I would like a change of scenery. Spending almost 13 years in a sewer isn't anyone's idea of healthy living, Kyuubi replied. Naruto replied, I'm not sure what I can do, but let me try. Naruto's eyes were closed. He focused on tearing down the walls that looked like sewers. Both Kyuubi's cage and the sewer walls started to fade away. The walls had all been removed. The floor itself had vanished. Now there was only a black emptiness. While still lying on what had been the floor, Kyuubi remarked, fairly good kid. Now make it something simple, like a field or something like that. Naruto had an image of a field. The dark emptiness started to shift. A grassy field appeared, stretching outward. Naruto started to focus once more because he felt it was too simple. In the center of the field, a massive tree grew. Kyuubi was completely dwarfed by the size of the tree. Kyuubi said, now that's more like it, as he moved to lie beneath the enormous tree. Naruto questioned, why exactly are you helping me anyway, fuzzball? Kyuubi remarked, why? Well, a few reasons I suppose. Naruto questioned, you going to tell me? I suppose. First of all, I'm stuck with you. The fourth Hokage was no fool when he designed this seal. Second, you interest me, which isn't an easy thing to accomplish, I might add. So, to make your life just a bit easier and mine a bit more enjoyable in here, I've decided to help you every now and then, the fox replied. Naruto let out a sigh. The words, man, you're weird, fuzzball, were muttered by Naruto. The fox retorted, you used to wear a bright orange jumpsuit, and you're calling me weird? With a, okay, you got me there, Naruto answered. When Naruto checked the time, he saw that he had just 30 minutes to meet his team at the training ground. After changing out of his pajamas and into his regular clothes, Naruto left to meet his team. At the 5th training ground as she waited for her teammates, Hinata was humming joyfully beneath a big tree. Naruto had given Hinata some flowers, which she had spent the previous evening pressing. Although she was a little worn out, she was prepared for whatever test Kurenai had in store for her. Naruto and Shino approached Hinata. They were talking about the various applications for Shino's bugs. When Naruto and Shino saw Hinata, they waved. She waved back, blushing slightly. While Hinata waited for their sensei to arrive, Naruto and Shino took a seat beneath the tree. Hinata asked her teammates, so, what do you think Kurenai's sensei has in mind for our test? Good question. I was trying to figure that out myself, replied Shino. Naruto gave a shrug. Don't know. Hope it isn't anything too boring, though, said Naruto. The three young genin discussed Shino's bugs and the Hyuga bloodline's abilities while seated beneath the tree. When Kurenai Yuhi approached the young genin, it was 15 minutes past noon. Kurenai remarked, good to see you're all getting along. Naruto leapt to his feet. With excitement, he said, so what's our test? Kurenai grinned at his eagerness. Kurenai said, you three will try to find me and subdue me. You have 3 hours to try and finish your test, and your test starts now, before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. Well, since we have to find her before anything else, Hinata, would you search for her with your Byakugan? Replied Shino. Hinata gave a nod. Hinata shouted, Byakugan, and started looking around for her sensei. Alongside Kakashi let out a sigh. Kiba was just tied to the wooden post by him. They were given a final opportunity to behave as a team or risk being sent back to the academy after Kakashi explained the true goal of his test. Kakashi was bluffing, of course. Because the Uchiha was on the team, he was unable to do that. Well, I wonder how Naruto and his team are doing. As he left Team 7 to give them time to think about their options, Kakashi pondered. With the 8th team, Kurenai was now being pursued by Team 8 through Training Ground 5's woods. For nearly an hour, they had been pursuing her. On one occasion, they nearly captured her, but she managed to get away by deceiving them with basic genjutsu. Yo, Shino. Go off to the left. I'll head off to the right. Hinata keep tailing her. Shino and I are going to try and set up a trap, said Naruto. Hinata gave a nod. Naruto and Shino both left in different directions. It appears that they parted ways. Maybe to try to ward me off? While sprinting through the treetops, Kurenai pondered. Naruto grinned. With the cry, Shadow Clone Jutsu, 20 Naruto clones appeared. As soon as the smoke cleared, the shadow clones scattered. They were aware of what to do. At the appropriate moment, Shino was trying to drain Kurenai's chakra by spreading his bugs. While Shino and Naruto were busy setting up on their end, Hinata was using her Byakugan to monitor Kurenai's movements. It took Shino and Naruto 15 minutes to finally settle into their desired positions. The pair waited for Kurenai to approach from the shade of the trees. Kurenai was unaware of Naruto and Shino's plans. Hinata pursued her as she continued to run. To be honest, she was enjoying this test a lot. Behind Shino, a shadow clone materialized. The clone said, "Yo, Shino. She's coming. Get ready," before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. After Naruto began his portion, Shino got ready to unleash his bugs. Kurenai chose to leap into the clearing up ahead since she was running out of wooded space to run in. Shino's bugs were flying up above her when she landed, and 20 Naruto clones swiftly surrounded her after emerging from the forest. Kurenai grinned. She didn't think they would be this good. They demonstrated excellent teamwork, which is what she aimed for in this test. A few seconds after Naruto and Shino emerged from the forest, Hinata carried out their plan. Hinata was worn out. She lacked the stamina that Shino and Naruto possessed. She was in dire need of sleep. Very good, all three of you. You've all done far better than I would expect from new genin. You've accomplished the main point of your test, said Kurenai. Naruto was a little perplexed. Naruto said, "What do you mean? We didn't accomplish the last part of it," and Shino and Hinata nodded. Kurenai pointed to the bugs above her and the numerous Naruto shadow clones surrounding her. You were never expected to subdue a Junin-level ninja when you're fresh out of the academy, Naruto. The main point of the test I gave you was to see how well you worked as a team. The three of you chased me for over an hour using Hinata's Byakugan to track me. When you knew you couldn't catch me with speed or take me head-on, you set a trap, Kurenai said. Shino questioned, then why did you say we had to subdue you? We are shinobi, Shino. We lie all the time. You must learn to look beyond deception in order to see what the truth is, Kurenai said. Hinata took a seat on the lawn. She was worn out. Do we pass? Inquired Hinata. According to Kurenai, with flying colors, Hinata. Shino stayed silent, but he was grinning beneath his coat as Naruto leapt into the air and made victory gestures with his fingers. Hinata also grinned. It was entertaining to observe Naruto's excitement. Alongside Kakashi had just finished working with his new team, and it was now 2 o'clock. They need a lot of work, Kakashi sighed deeply. Kakashi noticed Team 8 conversing with each other down the street. I wonder if they will ever see that boy as anything other than a demon? Kakashi asked, observing that Naruto was receiving a lot of glares. Kakashi pondered sorrowfully. Kurenai approached Kakashi to speak, jolting him out of his reverie. Kurenai inquired, "So, Kakashi, senpai, how's your team?" "Couldn't be better," he said without much meaning. Kurenai let out a sigh. The three young genin nodded and started toward the ramen stand, saying, "Would you guys go ahead? I need to talk with Kakashi, senpai." Kakashi remarked, "I'm really not in the mood to talk about it, Kurenai." She jokingly said, "Oh, come on. I'll let you take me out to dinner," not anticipating his affirmative response. Kakashi considered it. Since Rin's death, he hadn't gone on a date. Kurenai, who was about his age, had a striking appearance. He was still too preoccupied with the past to summon the courage to ask her out, even though he had always wanted to do so. Kakashi said, "Well, then, it's a date." Kurenai was taken aback. That was not the response she had anticipated. She stammered, What? Alright, pick me up at 5, in response. I'm just as bad as Hinata, she believed. Kurenai turned a deeper shade of pink as she walked away. Like many other women, she had always found him attractive, but Rin was the only one who had ever gotten a date with him. With the 8th team, Hiruzen sat down beside Naruto just as they were beginning to eat some ramen. As he gulped down some ramen, Naruto said, "Hey old man, what do you need?" Hiruzen responded, I was just coming to see how well your test went, while placing an order for a bowl of pork and miso ramen. Naruto said, it went great, right guys? His teammates gave him a nod. When Hiruzen said, good, glad to see you're getting along with your teammates, she was beaming. Hiruzen looked back to see Kurenai approaching the stand. Ah, Kurenai, you look happier than usual. Kurenai bowed with a smile. Good afternoon, Hokage, Sama. Hiruzen inquired, so how did the team do? Kurenai responded, they were excellent. They passed with flying colors, as she took a seat beside the Hokage. Naruto said, see, old man. Told you, while he nibbled on some pork from a fresh bowl of ramen. Kurenai was unsure of her thoughts. She had never before heard the Hokage referred to as old man. As she reprimanded Naruto, Kurenai said, Naruto, show the Hokage some respect. It's fine, Kurenai. Naruto has been calling me that for a long time now. Hiruzen waved it away. Naruto's face was beaming broadly. A tiny figure in the alleyway on the opposite side of the street was also smiling. As he emerged from the alleyway's shadows and headed toward his target, the diminutive figure positioned himself to gain maximum speed. He rushed from the alley. Konohamaru shouted, I've got you this time, old man. Konohamaru stumbled over the long scarf he was wearing around his neck when he was halfway there. His face smashed into Naruto's ramen as he fell in midair. Hinata burst out laughing. Naruto rubbed his head on the ground and glared at the young boy as he slowly took his face off his priceless bowl of ramen. Naruto grabbed Konohamaru by the collar of his shirt and lifted him off the ground, yelling, what the hell is wrong with you? Stupid, let go of me! Screamed Konohamaru. Ebisu emerged before everyone. Unhand the honorable grandson. Naruto gave him a dumbfounded look. Naruto shouted, Honorable Wa. I don't care who he is, and gave Konohamaru a side head slap. While Hiruzen laughed, Ebisu was in complete disbelief. The whole thing was kind of funny. Ebisu shouted, how dare you hit the third Hokage's grandson? Still a little upset, Naruto retorted, I don't care whose grandson he is, he messed up my ramen. Hiruzen laughed. Ignoring the fact that he had been hit and focusing more on his food was very typical of Naruto. Hiruzen saw his secretary approaching inside. He was aware that he needed to return to the office. Hiruzen said, sorry Naruto. I have to go now. Work calls, and stood up. Naruto answered, okay, old man. See ya around. Hiruzen halted and pivoted in Naruto's direction. Still want to become Hokage, Naruto? Asked he. Naruto smiled. He said, of course I do. Hiruzen grinned and said, excellent, before heading to his office. Naruto smiled. Naruto said, well guys, I'll see you tomorrow, while he paid for the ramen he and his teammates were eating. Alright, said Shino. Squeezing out, by Naruto.kun, Hinata said. Shunshined away from the ramen stand, Naruto waved. Kurenai checked the clock. In a panic, she thought, I have less than 2 hours to find an outfit. She hurriedly said, I have some plans tonight. I'll see you two tomorrow at around 9 AM so we can get a mission from the Hokage, before rushing away. Hinata muttered, odd, I've never seen Kurenai sensei like that before. After saying goodbye to Hinata and getting off the stool, Shino headed home. Hinata let out a sigh. Today, she wanted to speak with Naruto. Just to at least have a conversation with him, nothing specific. Hopping off the stool, Hinata made the decision to head home. There was nothing else she could do today. Alongside Kakashi had returned home just now. He immediately headed to the closet to check out his wardrobe. He had forgotten entirely that he didn't have any dress clothes. His only clothing was Junin and Anbu. Damn, I guess I'll have to buy something decent to wear for when I go on my date with Kurenai, Kakashi replied. At that moment, he looked up. He needed a decent outfit in less than 2 hours. Alongside Kurenai was frantically trying to find something to wear in her closet. She already had 8 outfits on her bed and 4 in her hands. She was having trouble deciding what to wear. She was anxious about what to wear because she had never dated anyone before. As she put away 2 of the outfits, she thought, I don't want anything too revealing. Kurenai looked at her clothes for the next half hour until she knew she only had 2. One was a strapless, dark red dress that hung down to her mid-thigh. It displayed a large portion of her body. The other ensemble she was examining was very different. It was a red tank top and tight-fitting jeans. When she finally decided what to wear, she thought, I think I'll just go with the dress. Alongside Hinata had arrived at home slowly. The last thing she wanted to do was return to the Hyuga estate after having so much fun with her new team. Hinata and 2 branch members were now standing in front of the compound. One of the guards said, "Afternoon, Hinata. Sama. I hope everything went well with your test." "Yes, it did. Thank you," Hinata said with a smile. Only the branch members, at least the majority of Tama, were worried about Hinata's welfare. Since she never berated them for any reason or used that cursed seal on them, she was the only main house member that the branch truly cared about. With a sigh, Hinata passed the guards. She was headed directly to her room. Hinata strolled through the Hyuga estate's corridors. She went past Hanabi, her younger sister, and her father. Hinata's sister turned to smile at her, but her father didn't even bother to look. Hinata was relieved that her younger sister did not become a miniature version of her father. When Hinata eventually arrived at her room, she entered and took a seat on her bed. She heard what sounded like crumbling paper as soon as she sat down. There was a note when she removed her sheets. All it said was, 5 p.m., Hokage Monument. Naruto.kun, thought Hinata, grinning. She hurriedly threw the note away and headed to the shower. She had an hour or so before their scheduled meeting. Alongside Naruto in his apartment, Naruto was debating with the fox while seated on his bed. The fox shouted, "Tell her already, brat." "No," retorted Naruto. The fox retorted, "You're just going to keep it from her forever?" Naruto answered, "Damn right, fuzzball. That's exactly what I intend to do." "Stupid child!" exclaimed the Kyuubi. The reply from Naruto was, "Dumb fuzzy bastard." The fox asked jokingly, "Are you afraid, child?" "Yes," exclaimed Naruto. Naruto cast his gaze downward. Naruto said, "Yes, I'm terrified," with a dejected tone. There was no reply from the fox. He hadn't anticipated Naruto's response. The youngster seated in front of him was terrified of that girl's rejection, not of him at all. The fox remained silent, unsure of what to say. Until Naruto left his mindscape, he said nothing. Naruto glanced at the timepiece. He needed to prepare and reach the Hokage Monument in 20 minutes. He also had a request that he needed to discuss with Fukasaku. Naruto performed the summoning jutsu's hand signals. Prior to meeting Hinata, he wanted to speak with Fukasaku. Naruto said, "Summoning jutsu," and slammed his hand to the ground. Then Fukasaku emerged in a puff of smoke. Naruto said, "I need a favor," to the elderly toad sage. He didn't like being called in most of the time, but Naruto was an exception. The boy had won Fukasaku over. He was vivacious and constantly upbeat. The elderly toad grinned. Fukasaku inquired, "What might this favor be?" Directly to the point, Naruto asked, "Could I take Hinata on a date to Myobokuzen?" According to the frog, "Well, that is a rather unusual request. Why can't you just do that with her in the village?" he inquired. Naruto started to explain why he was unable to date Hinata in the village. "Well, you see," he said. Naruto was a good child, but Fukasaku would never even entertain a request from someone else. He was worthy of some assistance. He and Hinata could date without any problems if it weren't for the fox in him. Fukasaku said to a very pleased Naruto, "Okay, Naruto. I'll grant your request. We'll go over the specifics later, but I would like to meet this girl you always speak of." "Thanks," Naruto exclaimed, snatching Fukasaku in a death embrace. Naruto can't breathe, the older frog attempted to say before dying. "Oh, sorry," said Naruto. Fukasaku said, "No problem. I'll come to you when everything is ready," before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. Naruto grinned. As he hurried through his apartment preparing, Naruto called forth a shadow clone and gave him instructions to get Hinata some flowers. The clone obeyed and used transformation jutsu to obtain some flowers covertly. Alongside Kakashi grinned. He had not worn actual civilian clothes for years, so he purchased a dark blue dress shirt and black dress pants. As he approached Kurenai's house, a lot of people gawked at him. As they fantasized about the aristocratic Junin, many young women blushed when they saw him. They both thought the same thing. With whom is he going on a date? What will she be wearing, I wonder? Ignoring the people who were staring at him, Kakashi thought. At last, people noticed that Kakashi had 6 red rosebuds in his right hand. Kakashi was on a date, and everyone knew it now. Something that many were aware he hadn't done for a while. In general, rosebuds symbolized youth and beauty, as well as a heart devoid of love. However, because they were red rosebuds, their meaning was different. Red rosebuds were symbolic of beauty and purity. He hoped the flowers would be appreciated by Kurenai. When it came to situations like this, Kakashi was not very good with words. He had approached Inoichi's wife at the Yamanaka's flower shop to inquire about the kind of flowers he ought to bring. Showing him what to bring had been a pleasure for her. Kakashi had arrived at Kurenai's house and was a little reluctant to knock on the front door. After gathering his thoughts, Kakashi knocked on the door. He arrived on time. Kurenai hurriedly opened the door. She noticed that Kakashi had also dressed up. Kurenai remarked, "You look very handsome, Kakashi," as her face flushed. Kakashi could not speak. He was drooling a little because of what she was wearing, even though he knew she was attractive. Kurenai flushed when she noticed Kakashi drooling through his mask. She told Kakashi, "I'll take that as a compliment." Kakashi gathered his thoughts. Kakashi handed her the flowers and said, "These are for you. I thought I'd get some flowers because I'm not really that great at expressing myself." "Thank you. I love them," Kurenai said with a smile, kissing him on the cheek before returning to her apartment to submerge them in water. As he watched Kurenai vanish into her apartment, Kakashi blushed slightly. Kurenai grinned. She hoped that her new relationship with Kakashi would blossom into something more, much like these flowers. Kurenai returned to the front door, where Kakashi was waiting calmly, after completing the process of submerging the rosebuds in water. Kakashi held out his arm and asked, "Shall we go?" Grinning, Kurenai took his arm. They started walking in the direction of the section of the village that housed all of the eateries. On the monument of Hokage, Naruto hoped Hinata received the message as he waited for her to arrive. Hinata quickly showed up, so Naruto didn't have to wait long. Naruto grinned. With flowers behind his back, he said, "Hey Hinata-chan," with warmth. Behind his back, Naruto handed her the orchids. Hinata grinned. Orchids were her favorite. She understood the significance of orchid flowers as well. Love, beauty, refinement, and beautiful lady were among the many meanings associated with orchids. "Thank you," Hinata said, blushing, and planted a kiss on his cheek. Naruto reddened and opened his mouth to speak when they heard Fukasaku appear behind them. Fukasaku said, "Ah, Naruto my boy, and this must be Hinata," and Naruto nodded. It talked. Hinata squeaked and leapt behind Naruto, a little alarmed. "It's all right, Hinata. Remember how I told you I trained at Myobokuzen?" Naruto said with a belly laugh. Hinata gave a nod. "Yes, I remember," Hinata remarked, continuing to remain concealed behind Naruto. "Well, Myobokuzen is where the Toad clan lives, and I was wondering if you would like to go there with me sometime," replied Naruto. "It's a very beautiful place. I'm sure you will enjoy spending your dates there," the frog replied. Disappointed that he was unable to inform Hinata, Naruto remarked, I never got to tell her yet, old man." "Oh well, she knows now," the elderly frog quipped. Naruto pivoted. Naruto said, "So what do you say, would you want to?" Hinata grinned. "Of course I would," she exclaimed, encircling Naruto with her arms. Fukasaku grinned. "Very good. It will take some time for the scroll to be made for reverse summoning. I'll send Gamakichi when it's ready," Fukasaku said. Naruto said, "Thanks for everything," to the elderly frog. "Of course," Fukasaku replied before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. To observe the sunset, Naruto and Hinata took a seat on the Hokage monument. Hinata was eager to visit Myobokuzen but also anxious. Her clan and her father had never been there before. Alongside Kurenai and Kakashi just got done eating dinner. Both Kurenai and Kakashi would agree that it was excellent. They discussed their likes and dislikes over dinner. Both of them were having a great time. They were strolling down the street, heading nowhere in particular, after leaving the restaurant. Kakashi wrapped his arm around Kurenai's waist and said, "So Kurenai, how's Team 8? Kurenai reddened. "They're great. They work together very well, and Naruto is far more powerful than he's letting on," she responded. He remarked, "That's good to hear." She inquired, "What about you? How's your team?" Kakashi complained a little. "Not so great. I have a fangirl, and the other two don't cooperate with each other," he responded. Kurenai placed her head on his shoulder and remarked, "Oh, I see. Well, they'll get better eventually." Kakashi let out a sigh. "I can only hope," he uttered in a somewhat melancholy voice. In a bar at a local bar, Anko, Asuma, and Iruka were reviewing some reports. When Anko thought she saw Kurenai wearing a dress and Kakashi dressed in civilian clothes, she looked out the bar's window. "Guys, look out the window, and tell me if what I'm seeing isn't an illusion," she said, giving the other two serious rib pokes. Asuma's statement, "I'll be damned," Kakashi and Kurenai, caught everyone's attention. Iruka grinned. Iruka said, "About time he moved on with his life," and Anko and Asuma nodded. Iruka pulled Anko back into her seat when she attempted to stand up. "Sorry, you're not going anywhere. We have things to do," Iruka replied. Anko grinned. She asked sensuously, "Is that an invitation of sorts, Iruka?" Anko laughed as Iruka blushed and choked on his drink a little. One day, she wouldn't mind learning more about Iruka. That rather large scar across his face was sexy to her. We need to finish these reports first, Asuma said, drawing both of their attention. Okay. You two, you can get a room late. After blushing, Iruka and Anko resumed their work. Alongside Kurenai and Kakashi, even though Kakashi and Kurenai were chatting as they wandered aimlessly through streets and alleyways, they somehow ended up in front of her house. Kurenai pivoted. Thank you for the wonderful time, Kakashi. After removing his mask, Kurenai gave him a kiss on the lips. Kakashi encircled her with his arms, drawing her nearer. After more than a minute of kissing, Kurenai withdrew. Kurenai's face was flushed. Kurenai inquired, how long have you wanted to do that? All night, was his response. Kurenai said, I'll see you tomorrow, Kakashi, as she approached her home and shut the door. Kurenai strolled around her flat. The rose buds she had submerged in water a few hours prior caught her attention. They were partially open now. On the monument of Hokage, on the Hokage monument, Hinata had dozed off against Naruto as night had fallen. He gave her a kind smile. He thought, I guess I'd better get her back home. After carefully picking Hinata up, Naruto headed to the Hyuga compound. Fortunately, it was nighttime when Naruto leapt through the village's rooftops. He went unnoticed. In a matter of minutes he was close to the Hyuga compound. It appears that the level of security is no higher than it is during the day. He reasoned, I suppose they don't get too many intruders. Naruto sprinted to Hinata's room after spotting a gap in the guard. To keep the guards from seeing him with Hinata, Naruto shut the window. He heard someone coming down the hall, so he put her down on the bed and hastily covered her with the covers. After giving her a tender kiss on the forehead and saying, Good night, Hinata-chan, Naruto shunned her. Naruto was thrilled to be embarking on his first mission of the day. Every day before embarking on missions, Naruto and his team were to meet, and he ran through the rooftops to get there. Naruto reached the location of their rendezvous, which was a tiny bridge within the village. One of the few aqueducts that provided running water to the village was crossed by the bridge. Naruto exclaimed, Ah, finally we get our first mission. With all of his energy, even the most mundane tasks would seem enjoyable to Naruto, who made everyone laugh. Kurenai said, Well, Naruto, you seem happy to start missions. Kurenai blushed as Naruto shot back, Yeah, and you seem happier than yesterday. Go on a hot date or something? Naruto was spot on with that remark, and Kurenai was mortified by it. With a deep pink flush, Kurenai questioned, Why would you say that? Well, that was something that Pervy Sage used to say all the time, Naruto said. Kurenai walked toward the Hokage tower and said, Oh, I see. Well, let's just get a mission then. Behind Kurenai, Naruto accompanied his two teammates as they made their way to the Hokage tower to pick up a mission. While the three young genin waited outside the Hokage tower, Kurenai went inside to receive a mission. A few minutes later, they witnessed Kurenai emerge with a scroll from the Hokage building. To finish the mission, the four of them took off. Naruto had paint on his clothes when they returned from the mission 30 minutes later. Their mission was to paint a house, which upset Naruto. Was that really a ninja mission? It was more like something you train monkeys to do, he said. Sorry Naruto, but these aren't the old days where genin didn't get useless D-rank missions, Kurenai sighed, sounding dejected. She was a little let down, too. Naruto sprinted in the direction of the Hokage building and yelled, Well, when we get up to the Hokage building I'm getting a C-ranked mission. Shino adjusted his glasses and said, We better catch him before he causes a problem, in a slightly happier tone than usual. Kurenai and Hinata grinned. Shino spoke a lot more than he ever had in the academy in the few days that Naruto had been with him. To ensure that Naruto wouldn't cause trouble in the Hokage tower, they all ran after him. When they all got there, Naruto was staring at a very battered Sasuke Uchiha. The three wanted to see what Naruto would say, even though they knew this would not end well. Naruto walked past without waiting for a response, asking, Sasuke, have you ever heard the saying, no means no? While the other genin were somewhat perplexed by Naruto's remarks, Kurenai and Kakashi couldn't help but chuckle. Sakura attempted to strike Naruto in the back of the head, saying, How dare you talk about my Sasuke-kun like that? Sakura, I'm not going to let you hit me anymore, like you used to, especially not because it's something I said to Teme, Naruto said, his eyes icy, as he turned and seized her first. Saying, all right, that's enough, Kakashi intervened to stop the violence. Kurenai said, So I take it you guys got Tora the Terror? Yeah we did. Sasuke as you can see got scratched up by the cat, returned Kakashi, blushing a little. Sasuke complained, Stupid cat, I can see why it ran away. At that moment, a very big woman screamed for the cat to return, and they saw it leap back out the window of the Hokage building. I agree with Teme. I can see why the cat ran away, Naruto said, flinching, while the others simply nodded. Kurenai blushed a little and said, well Kakashi, we will see you around. We're going to get another mission, before entering the Hokage building. When Hinata saw Kurenai and Kakashi staring at each other, she simply grinned and followed her sensei. The other 5 genin simply followed the leaders of their respective teams without noticing anything. The 8th team had just entered the mission handling room. We're done with painting the house, Kurenai uttered in a dazed manner. Well, we have more D-rank missions. Tora escaped again, so it would be nice if you could catch him, Hiruzen said while reviewing some reports. I want a real mission, old man. What does painting some guy's house get me? Naruto sighed. Naruto, show some respect to the Hokage. You're fresh genin, and these are the kinds of missions you get when you first start out, Iruka stated. I don't care, we are ninja, not painters, dog walkers, animal catchers, or gardeners, replied Naruto. Jiraiya had just arrived through the window to listen to Naruto's tirade and see the elderly man. Naruto whimpered at his sensei, pervy sage, tell him we should get a better mission, instead. When Jiraiya turned to look, she saw that Naruto's teammates were waiting while seated. Jiraiya chuckled as she thought, I suppose they assumed they wouldn't be departing until the Hokage gave in. Well Jiraiya, what do you think? Hiruzen asked, glancing at Jiraiya. Well, you know he isn't going to leave till you give him something more fitting of a ninja, Jiraiya said in response to his former sensei. Hiruzen thought, well, I do have that mission to the wave, but I'm not so sure Tazuna is being truthful though. Naruto questioned, so old man, you going to give me a better mission? After letting out a sigh, Hiruzen threw the scroll to Naruto and said, okay, your team will be bodyguards on a journey to the land of waves. It's only a C-rank mission, but that's as far as I'm willing to go with you, Naruto. Naruto rushed over to Kurenai and gave her the scroll, exclaiming, thanks, old man. Kurenai was unsure of how to behave because she had never witnessed the Hokage make a concession, particularly with a child. Send him in, said Hiruzen. A man with a big bottle in his hand entered the room looking inebriated. Tazuna turned to face the youngster. You can't be serious, he's just a child, Tazuna remarked as he took another gulp of his bottle. Naruto grinned as Hiruzen chuckled and remarked, he may be a child but far more capable at fighting than any mere thug or bandit. Yeah, and someday I'll take his job, Naruto declared, gesturing toward the Hokage. Hiruzen chuckled and returned to studying his papers. You will depart in an hour for your mission, Team 8, he said. Hiruzen watched as Tazuna went to the closest bar to get another bottle because he was going to need it, and Naruto and his group went to get ready. Outside the Hokage building, Team 8 was told by Kurenai, alright, you guys have 30 minutes to gather your things, pack for at least 2 weeks, before being dismissed. To get what they needed, the 3 genin left for their separate homes. At the estate of Hyuga, Hinata was thrilled to be leaving this house for a while as she packed her belongings to leave on her mission. Heishi saw his daughter packing while he was passing her room. Where are you going, Hinata? Heishi asked as he entered her room. Hinata was taken aback, her father had not been heard approaching. We have a C-ranked mission and I have to be packed for 2 weeks, Hinata expressed anxiety. Interesting, normally a genin team doesn't get one on the first day. Very well, just do as you're told, Heishi replied. Hinata said, oh, of course father, and bowed to her dad. Even though Neji's team hadn't been given a C-rank mission until their second week out of the academy, Heishi found it intriguing and turned to leave Hinata's room. Couldn't he just say have a nice trip, or something like that? Hinata sighed. Hinata pondered in her mind. Hinata felt a little down because her father didn't seem to care all that much about her. As he turned a corner on his way to his office, Heishi thought, perhaps I'll have to speak with the Hokage about why he's sending her team out on a C-ranked mission so soon. At Konoha's front gate, Hiruzen and Jiraiya were waiting to greet Team 8 as they returned to the front gate, prepared to depart. Jiraiya handed Naruto a letter and remarked, oh Naruto, I forgot to give this to you earlier. Something on the letter caught Kurenai's attention. Isn't that the seal the nobles from the land of iron use? Asked Kurenai. Shino inquired, what is the land of iron? The land of iron is a small, but very powerful nation. Instead of having shinobi as its main military power, they have samurai, and are extremely skilled in the art of swordsmanship. The shinobi never step foot in that country unless permission is given at least a week beforehand, Jiraiya concluded. As he reflected on that period, Naruto remarked, yeah, me and Pervy Sage went there when I was about to turn 11. Rewind, Jiraiya said, Naruto were going on a trip for a short time, while he was eating. Naruto said, "Oh, where are we going?" "We're going to see an old friend of mine in the Land of Iron. I meant to go see him 11 years ago but something came up," replied Jiraiya. Excited, Naruto asked, "When do we leave?" Jiraiya was relieved that Naruto didn't find it strange that the fox attacked the village and Naruto was born at the same time he intended to visit his old friend. "Well, by now the toad I sent should have delivered the scroll telling my friend of our arrival. The toad should have set up the summon scroll as well, so we don't have to walk there. We will be leaving later today, no need to pack anything," replied Jiraiya. "Alright, cool," cried Naruto. It took several hours before Jiraiya and Naruto were prepared to depart. Jiraiya got ready to transport them to the Land of Iron via teleportation. "So, Naruto ready to leave?" Jiraiya inquired of his pupil. "Yeah," exclaimed Naruto. Jiraiya performed several seals with her hands. The two then appeared in front of a big building after vanishing in a cloud of smoke. Naruto exclaimed in awe, "Wow, this place is big." Naruto was more impressed by the location of the establishment than by the building itself. Naruto looked up to see a mountain enclosing the entire city at its ends, leading to enormous openings where enormous ice shards resembling teeth hung along the opening, giving the impression of a huge mouth. A man behind them interrupted Jiraiya, saying, "The mountain sheltering this small but powerful nation is called." A voice behind them said, "It's called Three Wolves Mountain. There are 3 identical sides of the mountain just like this one you see now." "Ah, Mifune, it's been so long, how you been?" Jiraiya asked as she turned around. "Quite well, Jiraiya, since we last met. You were supposed to come and have a drink about 11 years ago, but you never showed up. What happened?" Mifune asked, grinning, something he didn't do very often. A child was standing beside Mifune, Jiraiya noticed. In an attempt to shift the conversation, Jiraiya inquired, "Is that your kid?" "Yes, he is. He just turned 11 a few weeks ago. His name is Akira," replied Mifune. With excitement, Akira ran to Naruto and said, "Want to go do something fun?" "Sure," Naruto exclaimed with a smile, and the two fled. The two adults complained simultaneously. Jiraiya questioned, "I take it Akira is a handful?" Mifune rubbed his head and said, "Yes, he does get it from his mother." "Would it be too much trouble to hold Naruto's birthday here?" Jiraiya inquired. "Sounds interesting. I'm sure Akira would like that too. Considering who I am, he doesn't get a lot of chances to socialize with others," Mifune said with a smile. At that moment, Mifune and Jiraiya heard guards yelling. One guard yelled, "Get that blonde kid and Akira, instead." Another exclaimed, "Which blonde kid? There are 50 of them?" Flashback ends. "Yeah, Akira and I had a blast pulling pranks that week," Naruto exclaimed with joy. Jiraiya said, "Don't remind me," and shuddered slightly. After reading the letter that Akira had sent him, Naruto grinned and put it away. "Well, you guys should get going. I'm sure Tazuna wants to get home," Jiraiya replied. Kurenai declared, "Okay, Team 8, let's go," as he took the initiative. The 5 of them proceeded toward the Land of Waves along the path. Tazuna was not a ninja. He was unable to run or leap through the trees, which would have sped up the journey. Naruto and Hinata were roughly 5 feet behind Tazuna, with Kurenai and Shino in front. It had been an hour since the group started walking. The more minutes went by, the more anxious Tazuna became. From the trees, 2 figures observed the group. They would hold off on attacking until the group had been gone for another hour or so. "Hinata, is something wrong? You've been upset about something since we left," Naruto murmured. Hinata answered, "I just wish my father would care about the things I do." With a, "Well, I care," Naruto agreed. Hinata grinned. Whether Naruto loved her or not, it made no difference because her father was never there for her. At Konoha Team 7 and Kakashi were attempting to apprehend Tora once more. The cat was demonstrating remarkable intelligence by refusing to fall for the same tricks twice. Kakashi observed from afar as Tora was encircled by Team 7. The first to lunge at Tora was Sasuke. The cat landed on a tree branch after deftly avoiding him. As the cat landed, Kiba leapt to catch it, but he missed. The 2 boys were upset when the cat fell into Sakura's arms. Team 7 headed for the Hokage Tower as Kakashi emerged from the bushes. 10 minutes later, Team 7 reached the Hokage Tower. Kakashi said, "Here to turn in Tora for the second time today," with a tone of boredom. Kakashi gave the cat to its owner, who nearly crushed it in an embrace. Without giving the cat a chance to flee, the owner departed. The cup the Hokage was holding cracked slightly as he took a sip of his tea. "Well, Hiruzen thought, I feel bad about Team 8. Kakashi, I need to talk to you for a moment," Hiruzen said solemnly as he got to his feet. Team 7 was left standing in the room after Kakashi and Hiruzen left. With the 8th team, Tazuna and the rest of Team 8 had been walking for just over 2 hours. When the group passed a puddle off the side of the road, Tazuna had just finished his last bottle of sake. "Don't you find it odd that there's a puddle when it hasn't rained in almost a week?" the fox responded. "Yeah, it is a little weird," returned Naruto. Shino was warned of the potential danger by his bugs, but he was unsure of its source. Kurenai had observed the puddle as well and prepared herself for any eventuality. Hinata saw the puddle, too, and found it strange. The only person who didn't seem to realize it was unusual was Tazuna. After the group had passed, 2 men emerged from the puddle, standing back. Back. They were joined by a spiked chain, and each wore a single gauntlet with claws. The 2 men had long black hair, camouflage pants, and masks that covered their mouths. In order to get above the group and kill their target, the man facing the group threw his partner into the air. When the claw touched Tazuna's arm, Kurenai leapt and shoved her aside. As soon as he landed, the man leapt back to his partner and they ran together in the direction of the bridge builder. They swiftly unchained their gauntlets as Naruto materialized in front of them. While one ran around Naruto to kill Tazuna, the other swung at him and was blocked. He went straight past Hinata and Shino. Ready to fight, Kurenai dashed in front of Tazuna, but Kakashi slammed him into the ground before he could reach her. Kurenai noticed that the other man was being choked by Kakashi. The altercation ended just as swiftly as it began. Disappointed that Kakashi had knocked out the man he was fighting, Naruto approached the group. "Yo!" exclaimed Kakashi with a smile. Kakashi threw the unconscious man over his shoulder after picking him up off the ground. Kurenai questioned incredulously, "Kakashi, what are you doing here?" He answered, "Not happy to see me." She repeated, "I never said that. Why did you come?" "The Hokage had a bad feeling about your mission, so he sent me as backup," replied Kakashi. Kurenai pointed to Tazuna and remarked, "Okay, that explains what you're doing here. But that doesn't explain why those 2 were after him." "Why don't you ask him, while I go see what these 2 know?" Kakashi replied. To speak with the 2 men, he led them into the woods. Kurenai demanded, "Okay, old man, spill it. Those guys were obviously after you." Tazuna murmured, "Yes, they were after me. They were sent by a man named Gato." "You mean Gato, as in one of the richest men in elemental nations?" she inquired. "Yes, that's the one. I'm building a bridge that will end his monopoly over my nation and he wants me dead because of it," Tazuna said. "That doesn't explain why you lied about what form of protection you needed," replied Kurenai. Tazuna looked at the ground and remarked, "This is all we could afford. My country is extremely poor, even the nobles have little money." Despite Tazuna's deception, Naruto stated, "I think we should continue. I'd rather not give up on the second mission I ever got as a ninja." Kurenai said, "We have Naruto's verdict. What about you 2? "According to Shino, I say we continue. Well, I think Naruto-kun is right, we should continue," Hinata replied. Kurenai saw him emerge from the woods and said, "Well, Kakashi, should we?" After giving it some thought, Kakashi realized that completing this mission would allow him to teach Naruto a skill. But before he could get a temporary sensei for his team, he would need to tell the Hokage. According to Kakashi, "Well, your team seems eager to continue, so why not?" She questioned, "What did you find out from those 2? "Other than they were after Tazuna, not much," he responded. Kakashi made some hand signals and cut his thumb. His hand slammed to the floor. A little pug dog declared, summoning jutsu, in front of the group. It said, "What do you need, Kakashi?" "Pakun, I need you to inform the Hokage that I will be staying with Team 8 to complete the mission. Also tell him to find a temporary sensei for my Team 7. Ebisu should be good if available. Oh, and tell him to send someone to pick up these 2, Kakashi said to the dog. With a nod, Pakun headed for the village to deliver the message. Kakashi turned to face the group and said, "Okay, that's taken care of now, let's continue." "Old man, this is no longer a C-ranked mission, this could go from a B rank to a ranked mission," said Kurenai. "I understand and I'll be more than happy to pay for it when we recover financially after getting rid of Gato," replied Tazuna. Tazuna, Team 8, and now Kakashi made their way to Wave Country. As the group departed, a pair of eyes behind a mask observed. He was holding off on making his presence known until they were sufficiently far away. After 10 minutes of patient waiting, the young man finally made his appearance in front of the 2 vanquished ninja. The young man said, "Gozu, Maizu, it was rather sloppy of you to underestimate your opponent," in a kind voice. "Haku, please don't tell Zabuza how badly we messed up," Gozu begged. Maizu simply waited for Haku to cut the bindings without saying anything. You know I wouldn't. You guys are about the closest thing I have to a family, Haku responded. As he adjusted his gauntlet, Maizu remarked, it's kind of sad when your only family is a bunch of missing ninja. True, but I wouldn't have it any other way, Haku said with a small laugh. In order to inform Zabuza about the unsuccessful attempt on Tazuna's life, the three of them left the area. Alongside Zabuza, Zabuza sat in his chair, considering the next steps in his plans. Standing just over 6 feet tall, Zabuza was a tall man. The lower portion of his face was hidden by combat wraps. He carried a huge strap around his chest to secure the sword he wielded, and he wore camouflage pants. I am aware that the fat pig will attempt to deceive me in the near future. How should I proceed? He pondered. For a while, Zabuza sat quietly until Gato yelled at him from the room. Your men failed in their mission to kill that pathetic old man, said Gato. Zabuza rose to his feet and loomed over Gato, the diminutive troll. When Zabuza said, keep your voice down, he nearly slashed the short man's head off with his sword. Gato screamed, are you trying to kill me? Zabuza stooped to meet Gato's eye level. Zabuza said, it had crossed my mind, in a somber tone. Gato staggered back and hit the floor. Gato hurried out of the room while muttering obscenities about Zabuza. Zabuza took a seat again. He could have killed Tazuna before he had even arrived at the Leaf Village to ask for help. I just wasn't the same bloodthirsty man back when he tried to take over the Mist Village, Zabuza sighed. He was more altered by the time he had spent with Haku and the Demon Brothers following their escape than he ever admitted to others. With the 8th team, the group reached the water's edge, which leads to Wave Country, a few hours later. A small boat was waiting for them when they looked down the shore. After boarding the small boat, the 6 of them began their leisurely journey across the water into the land of waves. Naruto inquired, how long is this trip going to take? At this speed, an hour or so, replied Kakashi. Their journey across the water was obscured by a dense fog. Before they could see the bridge, they sat in silence for 15 minutes. My, that is quite some bridge, said Kurenai. Yeah, it's huge, said Naruto. Hinata, Naruto-kun, not so loud, she said. Oh sorry, he said in a whisper. The boat's passage alongside the bridge demonstrated the bridge's sheer size. Kakashi muttered, and I thought it was big before. The remainder of the way to shore, the group talked about their plans. Tazuna made the decision that they would remain at his home. When they reached land, they hurriedly got out of the little boat. Tazuna remarked, thanks for getting us across. Of course, just make sure you complete the bridge, the man said. After Tazuna grinned, they left for her home, alongside Zabuza. Gozu, Maizu, and Haku were kneeling in front of Zabuza as they described what had transpired. We failed in our attempt to kill Tazuna, Gozu went on to say. Who is guarding the old man currently? Zabuza asked with a sigh. There were 3 genin and 2 junin. Kakashi Hitaki of the Sharinganai and Kurenai Yuhi the Genjutsu mistress of Konoha, Haku stated. Zabuza said, Gozu, Maizu, go get cleaned up, in a stern voice. Without giving Zabuza a chance to reconsider, the 2 bowed and departed. They believed that their incapacity would be punished. Haku, I want you to watch these ninja carefully. I want to know any weaknesses they might have, instructed Zabuza. As you wish, Zabuza. Sama, Haku had answered, with the 8th team. At last, they had reached Tazuna's house. It seemed strange to Kakashi that they weren't attacked again while traveling. It would be his responsibility to be alert for anything unusual. When Tazuna opened his door, his daughter Tsunami was there to greet him. He said, Father, you're back, Tsunami. She was clearly relieved that he had arrived home safely. Yes, I'm home, Tazuna said cheerfully. Tsunami glanced at her father and the group that entered. Thank you for putting up with my father, I know he can be a handful, she replied. Tazuna muttered, always treating me like a child. When she said, you shouldn't act like one then. Who are they? Inquired a young boy. Tsunami retorted, these individuals are here to assist in protecting your grandfather Inari. When Inari said, they should leave, before they die, she became irate. He passed them on his way to the stairs. Tsunami looked at the ground and remarked, you'll have to forgive Inari because a lot has happened since Gato arrived. As he ascended the stairs, Naruto glanced at the young boy. It was impossible for Naruto to not wonder what had happened to him. You are welcome to utilize our 2 additional rooms, Tsunami said. Great, said Kurenai. Kakashi and Kurenai discussed sleeping arrangements. After 2 minutes and a single red flush, a decision was made. Kakashi, Shino and Naruto would occupy one room, while Kurenai and Hinata would occupy the other. Naruto declared, Kurenai, Sensei, I'm going to look around town. Okay, but bring Hinata along, she said. Naruto gave her a curious glance. Naruto said, "All right, let's go, Hinata." After blushing, Hinata and Naruto went outside. Both of them left, heading toward the town. Kakashi questioned, "Why did you force Hinata to accompany Naruto?" "Hinata's crush on the boy has lasted for years," she had answered. Kakashi remarked, "Oh, so you're just playing matchmaker then?" Silently, Naruto and Hinata strolled through the forest. Before speaking, Naruto waited until he was a fair distance away from Tezuna's house. "Naruto, does Kurenai know? No, she just knows how I feel about you," explained Hinata. Naruto questioned, "Oh, so she's trying to get us together then?" "Yes," she said. With a smile, Naruto wrapped Hinata in his arm. As they made their way to town, she sighed and rested her head on his shoulder. When they got to town, Naruto and Hinata witnessed firsthand how impoverished they truly were. The houses and shops they saw were a little dilapidated. The food didn't even look that good, and the prices were a little high. After passing through a few times, Naruto and Hinata found themselves returning to Tezuna's house. From atop a tree, Kurenai and Kakashi were surveilling Naruto and Hinata. Kurenai noticed that Hinata had her head resting on Naruto's shoulder, with his arm encircling his waist. Kurenai remarked, "When did that happen? She never told me anything." Kakashi said, "Why don't you ask them? Maybe, we better get back before they do," Kurenai remarked. From the tree they were in, the two vanished. Naruto and Hinata parted ways as they got closer to the house. The two were unaware that Kakashi and Kurenai had followed them. By the time Naruto and Hinata returned to Tezuna's house, the sun had just set. Kurenai was waiting for Naruto and Hinata when they entered the house. "So Hinata, when were you going to tell me you and Naruto were already an item?" asked Kurenai. Hinata reddened. She said, W, what are you talking about, sensei?" Kurenai answered, "Don't try to hide it, I saw you two in the forest." When the conversation began, Shino entered the room. In shame, Naruto scratched the back of his head. Hinata was worried as she glanced at Naruto. Kurenai asked sweetly, "So, how long, since I got back from training with the pervy sage?" Naruto answered. Hinata implored, "Please don't tell anyone, Kurenai, especially my father." "You two have your right to privacy, and why would I tell your father?" replied Kurenai. Kakashi emerged from the adjacent room. Reassuring, "She's right, no one other than the people here have to know," he said. "Really?" exclaimed Hinata. Kurenai asked, "Why do you like sneaking around with Naruto?" She was grinning broadly. A deep red flush spread across Hinata's face. Both Kakashi and Kurenai grinned at the two young ninja. Shino was pleased for his teammates, but he didn't show it because his face is hidden. "Dinner's ready," Tsunami declared. Everyone took a seat to eat. To distract themselves from the current situation, they all discussed amusing or fascinating experiences from their lives. Naruto discussed his tricks in Myobokuzan with Shino. Tsunami and Hinata talked about the art of pressing flowers. Kurenai and Kakashi had a private conversation about something personal. Sitting at the table, Inari reflected on how awful life was. Tezuna simply ate his dinner in silence. Tsunami went to the kitchen to wash the dishes after dinner. "Okay, it's time for us to go to bed because we have a long day ahead of us," Kakashi declared. Everyone was eating breakfast the following morning. Everyone woke up, with the exception of Naruto, who wasn't in his room. Kakashi and Kurenai knew he was capable of caring for himself. For the time being, they chose to leave the boy alone. Right now, Naruto was in town, sitting on a rooftop. He was observing the morning activities of the families. "They're happy despite their extreme poverty," Naruto reflected. Before Jiraiya hired him as an apprentice, Naruto used to observe families going about their everyday lives. Even if it was only once, Naruto wished he could have at least met his parents. Suddenly, Kakashi emerged behind Naruto. "So this is where you've been all this time." "Hinata is getting worried," Kakashi stated. With a, "Oh sorry, let's go then," Naruto answered. Kakashi and Naruto vanished in a cloud of smoke. They showed up in front of Tezuna's residence. Naruto's team had already dispersed. "Where are they?" inquired Naruto. "They're currently working on tree climbing with Kurenai," Kakashi answered. Naruto said, "I see. Are we going there?" "No, Jiraiya asked me to train you in the use of swords. And I figured you already knew how to walk on trees and water," Kakashi clarified. "It's true. I know how to do those things. I've had some previous training with a sword back in the Land of Iron. But that was only for a few days," Naruto replied. Kakashi answered, "Great, so you at least know how to wield a sword." Kakashi produced 2 scrolls for storage. They were both sealed with blood. To remove the seal that had been applied to the scrolls, Kakashi cut his finger. In front of Kakashi and Naruto, two swords materialize. Kakashi grabbed one of the blades. After examining the sword for a minute, he gave it to Naruto. The sword was a katana, a type used in Shinto. The length of the blade was 29 inches. The tsuba, or guard, was round and black in hue. It was 10 inches long, with a black handle or hilt wrapped in pure white silk. A diamond-shaped pattern was left all the way down on both sides of the handle after the silk was wrapped around it. The silk that encircled the hilt of the sword was the same color as the sheath. The sword had a magnificent appearance. Kakashi thought, I know they're going to yell at me for giving him this so early. Naruto's gaze was fixed on the sword and would not leave it. Kakashi declared, that sword is yours to keep, Naruto. I can keep it? Inquired Naruto. Kakashi answered, yes, consider it an early birthday present. His own sword was strapped to his back. Everything on Kakashi's sword was black, but it was the same. When he was the Anbu's commander, he wielded the sword. As Naruto tied the sword on his back, Kakashi observed. It would be up to Kakashi to determine the ideal position for Naruto to draw the sword. Kakashi examined Naruto's stature in relation to the sword. Until he was taller, he could not draw the sword from the waist. Naruto cried, this sword is awesome. Glad you like it, Kakashi offered with a chuckle. Kakashi was relieved that the boy had not inquired about the sword's previous owner. If he asked Naruto, he didn't think he could keep it from him. The blade isn't made of ordinary metal. It's made from a type of metal that allows you to strengthen the blade with your elemental chakra, Kakashi explained. Naruto looked at Kakashi in complete bewilderment. Kakashi noticed that Naruto was not understanding him. Kakashi remarked, well, I'll just show you then. The sword came to life with electricity when he pushed chakra into it. Naruto exclaimed, awesome, can show me how to do that now? No, we can get to that part later. For now, we will work on your form, Kakashi responded. Naruto and Kakashi both prepared their swords. Although Naruto appeared somewhat let down, mastering the sword came before the more complex aspects of Kenjutsu. Out in the woods, Kurenai had just finished teaching Hinata and Shino how to use chakra to climb trees. She saw the two genin climb a few feet up the tree before losing their balance and plummeting to the ground. What did Kakashi intend to teach Naruto, I wonder? Kurenai thought. He was pretty insistent this morning on training him. Kurenai saw how far Shino and Hinata had come using just their feet to climb the tree. After completing this training, the two could proceed to group training and water walking. Hinata approached Kurenai. Hinata inquired, where is Naruto-kun? Kurenai gave Hinata a smile. Kurenai answered, at the moment, he is with Kakashi, doing some sort of training. A little let down that Naruto wasn't with them, Hinata turned to face the ground. Shino, Hinata, and Kurenai heard a loud noise all of a sudden. It sounded like the collision of two metal objects. They hurried to investigate the source of the sound. What they saw astounded them. Naruto and Kakashi were jumping through the trees at a great pace. Swords were being used in their battle. Kurenai thought, so that's what Kakashi wanted to teach him, even though that sword Naruto is carrying looks familiar. Kurenai turned to face Hinata, who stood beside her. Hinata grinned. She could spend all day watching Naruto practice. Kurenai grinned at her. At that age, she was somewhat like Hinata in terms of boys. Shino approached Hinata and Kurenai. Shino attempted to start a conversation by stating, he can certainly keep up with Kakashi, for once. Yes, but I don't think Kakashi is trying his hardest right now, said Kurenai. Agreed, said Shino. For the next 2 hours, they engaged in swordplay before both of them decided to give up. Naruto was still energetic but hungry, whereas Kakashi was exhausted. Shino, Hinata, and Kurenai were approached by Naruto and Kakashi. Shino had just finished the tree walking exercise with Hinata. Tsunami emerged carrying a basket from the forest. When Tsunami said, I brought you lunch, she was beaming. Naruto cried out, awesome, food. Hinata laughed at his eagerness. She laughed and said, calm down, Naruto-kun. In shame, Naruto scratched the back of his head. To eat, the 5 of them took a seat. Naruto wanted to take another look around the town after they were done. Naruto yelled, come on guys, let's go, toward his teammates. Kurenai cautioned, you 3, be careful, Gato will be sending more men. Tsunami inquired, do you think they will be alright? Of course, they may not look it, but they are all able to take care of themselves, replied Kakashi. At Konoha sitting in his office was Hiruzen. Yesterday, he named Ebisu Team 7's temporary sensei. The elderly Hokage was surprised that Heishi had scheduled a meeting with him for today. What Heishi desired was unclear to Hiruzen. Compared to Shiba, Shino's father, he was more emotionless. A knock on the door was heard by Hiruzen. "Come in," said Hiruzen. Heishi Hyuga was there, and as usual, he appeared emotionless. Hiruzen inquired, "What is it you wanted to speak with me about, Heishi?" "I wish to know why you sent Team 8 out on a C-ranked mission, and then sent Kakashi Hitaki as backup," Heishi responded. "I sent your daughter's team out on a C-ranked mission because Naruto requested it and his team had no objection to it," Hiruzen said. "Alright, that explains one thing. But why did you send Kakashi out?" Heishi responded. Hiruzen let out a sigh. He had hoped that explanation would be unnecessary. "According to Hiruzen, I had a bad feeling about the mission. Since Kakashi isn't back yet, I take it your bad feeling turned out to be something more?" Heishi responded. "Indeed. Kakashi is with them now, and he will be staying for the duration of the mission," Hiruzen responded. When Heishi said, "Very well, I'll take my leave then," he rose from his seat and walked out of the room. Well, Hiruzen thought, that went better than I expected. Ebisu was attempting to collaborate with Team 7 in another part of the village. He was struggling mightily to get them to concentrate. One day, the 3 genin in front of him might grow up to be excellent shinobi. At the moment, Sakura was ogling Sasuke while Kiba was shouting at him. "You 3 are supposed to be a team, but all I see are 3 brats," Ebisu yelled. The 3 of them looked in his direction. They appeared quite agitated. "Good, I've finally gotten your attention. You 3 are supposed to be a team, and thus need to start acting like it. Not like some fangirl who's going to get killed on her first real mission for not taking things seriously, nor some little boy trying to play alpha dog. And certainly not some spoiled brat who can't get his head out of the past," Ebisu said with a stern voice. Ebisu was somewhat taken aback by himself. It had been years since he'd screamed at anyone. He paused for a second before continuing. They appeared to be open to hearing his instructions and were surprisingly silent. "Now we will start with tree climbing exercise, then the water walking technique. Then we will work on working together as a group," Ebisu said. Kiba remarked, "But we can already climb trees." Ebisu questioned, "With only your feet?" "Well, no," said Kiba. With a small laugh, Ebisu demonstrated the technique for them. He used only his feet to climb the tree. After he descended from the tree, he gave instructions on how to accomplish what he had just done. "Now I want you to practice this until you can walk up and down the tree at least once," said Ebisu. While Kiba and Sasuke struggled to climb the tree even a few feet before losing control, Sakura accomplished it on her first attempt. To complete this relatively easy task, they would need a lot more time. Alongside Zabuza just now, Haku returned from snooping on the Leaf Ninja. "Tell me, Haku, what have you learned from them so far?" replied Zabuza. Out of the genin, the blonde they call Naruto seems to be the most skilled. The blonde is currently training in the art of Kenjutsu. I thought the girl, Hinata, was blind, due to not having pupils in her eyes, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The last member they call Shino. He uses insects, Haku said. Zabuza murmured, "A Hyuga, and an Aburame. Interesting." Zabuza started to consider the Naruto character. Is he proficient with a sword? Perhaps it won't be so boring after all, he thought. "I'll be getting back to my assignment then," Haku replied. They heard Gato just as he was ready to go. He questioned sharply, "Why haven't you dealt with the bridge builder yet?" According to Zabuza, "I will when I damn well please." His sword sliced into the wall as he threw it past Gato's head. Flushed from the room in terror, Gato fled. "I'm going to have him killed as soon as he finishes," Gato pondered. Zabuza enjoyed frightening the little fat man, despite the fact that Gato was his boss. After bowing, Haku departed to return to his task. Alongside Kurenai and Kakashi on the roof of Tezuna's house, Kurenai and Kakashi were observing the surroundings. Tezuna was negotiating with his employees inside the house. It had been nearly 2 hours since they entered. Kurenai said in a kind voice, "So Kakashi-kun, what are you thinking about?" "Well, I was thinking about the Demon Brothers. They always traveled with a man called Zabuza Momochi," said Kakashi. "And you think he's here as well? Why hasn't he attacked us then?" asked Kurenai. "He's probably been watching us, waiting for some kind of opening to get the bridge builder," replied Kakashi. The workers started to leave Tezuna's home as the front door opened. When the workers had left, Kakashi leapt down to speak with Tezuna. Kakashi inquired, "So when will construction start up again?" "In a few days, that was the soonest I could get them back to work," replied Tezuna. "I see. Well, at least that will give us some time to train Naruto, Shino, and Hinata," Kakashi replied. Although he would assist in training the other two, Kakashi's primary focus was on Naruto. Kurenai said, "So should I go get Shino, Hinata, and Naruto?" "No, let them have their fun for today. Tomorrow we will be doing team training with them," replied Kakashi. Kurenai questioned, "Why have you taken such an interest in Naruto?" Kakashi said, "Sorry, Kurenai, but I can't answer that question right now." Kurenai chose not to pursue the matter further. Together with Tazuna, the two strolled back inside the house to discuss their plans for the time until bridge construction could resume. In the forest, Naruto, Shino and Hinata were rehearsing their cooperation. They decided to work out together since they hadn't done much of that yet. As they worked on their formations, they dashed through the trees. They worked on target practice after doing that for a while. They each had to strike a few targets with a shuriken, or kunai, at least twice. They had to hit the target simultaneously and at full speed through the treetops. This training exercise was a contribution from Shino. The three of them were able to perfect their timing in just a little more than an hour. Hinata questioned, "What should we work on next?" Naruto said, "How about our taijutsu?" "Well, I don't really use taijutsu, I normally use my bugs," Shino replied. "Well, you can't always rely on your bugs for everything, Shino," Naruto replied. "Good point. I suppose it would be best to work on my taijutsu and stamina," replied Shino. "So how are we going to do this? There are three of us," Hinata said. Naruto proposed, "Well, how about you and Shino come at me and we will go from there." Naruto removed his sword strap. He assumed a taijutsu stance and set the sword down beside a tree. Hinata followed suit and assumed her soft fist position. Shino adopted a taijutsu stance as well, though Naruto was unsure of the kind. "All right, let's go," exclaimed Naruto. Shino and Hinata ran towards Naruto. Naruto easily retaliated with his own attacks after blocking theirs. He could have counterattacked more quickly. He reduced their speed to the point where his teammates could hardly avoid them. Before Hinata and Shino ran out of energy, the three genin engaged in a nearly hour-long battle. In contrast, Naruto was still energized and prepared for the second round. While they had spared, Hinata and Shino had taken a few blows to Naruto. However, their blows were insufficient to slow him down. Naruto said, "So you guys ready for round 2? "Sorry Naruto, but we just don't have the kind of stamina you have," replied Shino. A young man emerged from the shrubbery. He was dressed in a long, sleeved t-shirt and pants. The young man remarked, "That was quite impressive." The young man in front of them caught the attention of the three genin. "Who are you?" inquired Naruto. "My name is Haku," the youth answered. Haku questioned, "Are you three ninja by chance?" "Yeah," Naruto replied with a broad smile. Hinata questioned, "What are you doing out here in the forest, Haku?" "I was just going for a walk and saw you three, and decided to watch," Haku responded. Haku discussed their reason for being in the land of waves with the three genin. He was taken aback by how transparent they were with their information. Speaking with people his own age was a welcome change for Haku. As Naruto and Hinata sat side by side against a tree, enjoying the weather, he was discussing bugs with Shino. "Wow, I never knew bugs could be used like that," Haku exclaimed. The uses of bugs when paired with someone who was properly trained in their uses truly impressed him. Shino raised his gaze to the heavens. He knew it was time to return to Tazuna's house because it was growing dark. "Naruto, Hinata, we should be getting back now," said Shino. "Oh, right. I guess you're right. It's getting pretty dark, after all," replied Naruto. The trio turned to leave. As they began to depart, Naruto noticed the dejected expression on Haku's face. "Hey Haku, if you come by Tazuna's house tomorrow we can talk again," Naruto replied. Haku gave a sincere smile. In response, Haku said, "I would like that." Naruto approached the tree and snatched up his sword. All the way back to Tazuna's house, the genin ran. Naturally, Naruto outran Hinata and Shino because he was faster than them. Zabuza emerged from behind some trees and said, "So Haku, did you have fun?" Haku inquired, "When did you get here?" Unaware that Zabuza was observing, Haku felt a little uneasy. Leaning against a tree, Zabuza laughed. "We have things to do," Zabuza said. "Just now. Come on." They both vanished. Naruto returned to Tazuna's house with his group. After their sparring session, their clothes were a little soiled and worn out. Kakashi and Kurenai were sitting on the couch when they arrived at the house to greet them. Kakashi questioned, "You guys get into a fight or something?" The response from Naruto was, "No, we were just doing some team training, that's all." "Excellent," said Kakashi. Inari descended the steps. With a tone of anger, Inari questioned, Oh, you're still here? Of course we are, we were hired for a job and we are going to finish it, Naruto replied. When Inari said, hey, you will die just like my father then. I hear your father died trying to protect this country from Gato, said Naruto. At Naruto's words, Inari became furious. Inari exclaimed, yeah, he died a fool, now my life sucks. I don't see what's that bad about it. You have your mom and your grandfather still, said Naruto. Naruto was attempting to show Inari the positive aspects of his life while speaking in a soothing tone. But Inari didn't seem to be amenable to it. Inari retorted, what do you know you about a bad life? Everyone stared at Naruto, who remained silent and just stood there. His eyes were lifeless, as though he had just been stabbed in the heart. Without a word, Naruto turned around and left the house. Kakashi remarked, that was the wrong thing to say to him, after Naruto had left the house. Inari questioned angrily, why? What could be so horrible in his life? Kurenai placed a hand on Hinata's shoulder as she attempted to pursue Naruto. Kurenai said, give him some time alone, Hinata, in a kind tone. Hinata cast her gaze to the ground. All she wanted to do was console him. She was aware of what the villagers had previously done to him. With a frustrated tone, Kakashi said, okay kid, if you want to know about Naruto's life, take a seat. Kakashi considered the beginning of his story. After Naruto was expelled from the orphanage, he made the decision to begin the story. At the age of 6, Naruto was kicked out of the orphanage. Before we found him, he had survived by living in the park, picking for scraps for a month. After we found him and gave him an apartment, the civilians mistreated him. On his birthday or special events, the villagers would chase him and try to beat him. Most of the time we were successful at leading the villagers away from him, but sometimes he would get beaten half to death by them. Oh, and just so you know, Naruto never knew his parents, Kakashi continued. Kakashi didn't elaborate on the events he discussed. He was succinct and direct. He felt that this boy needed a reality check, even though he had never wanted to discuss Naruto's life events. Kakashi got up before anyone could speak or ask a question. Now if you will excuse me, I think I'll turn in early tonight, said Kakashi. He vanished up the steps. Hinata simply sat on the ground. Although she had personally witnessed the villagers' treatment of Naruto, she never thought it was that terrible. Hinata declared, I'm going to go find Naruto. She hastily left the house through the front door in search of Naruto. Hearing that brief but unsettling account of Naruto's life made the rest of the house sick. Byakugan! Cried Hinata, searching for Naruto in the woods. She looked around for Naruto. Hinata noticed Naruto standing beside a big boulder near a small lake with her Byakugan. Don't you think you overreacted just a little over what that brat said? Said the fox. Naruto answered, shut up, I don't feel like talking with you right now. Fine, wallow in your own self. Pity. By the way, your mate is coming, the Kyuubi replied. Naruto retorted, stop calling her that, fuzzball. Normally, he would have screamed at the fox for that comment, but he wasn't feeling particularly irate. When Hinata emerged from the forest, she was unsure of what to say and was only a foot behind Naruto. Hinata said, are you alright, Naruto-kun? Naruto simply gazed at the moon's reflection in the water without turning around. His mind was racing with pictures of what had happened to him. He wanted to forget them. When Hinata said, Naruto, it's getting late, we should go back. Naruto approached and took a seat against the big rock close to the water's edge. He glanced up at the still standing Hinata. Can you stay here for a little bit with me? Asked the man. Of course, Naruto-kun, she said. Grinning, Hinata approached Naruto and took a seat next to him. Hinata leaned in Naruto's direction. He was very warm, and the weather was a little chilly. So did Kakashi or Kurenai talk about my past after I left the house? He inquired. Pulling her toward him, Naruto wrapped his arm around her. Hinata reddened intensely. The answer was, Kakashi did briefly, Hinata said. Is it true you never knew your parents at all? She inquired. Yep, I don't even have a picture. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to, though, said Naruto. What Inari said. Did it hurt that much? She inquired. It brought back a lot of memories I'd rather forget about Hinata. Chan, Naruto said with a sigh. Hinata let out a sigh. She was content to simply sit in the moonlight with Naruto. Hinata questioned, Naruto, why do the villagers hate you? When Naruto heard her question, he stiffened. When he said, I'd rather not talk about it, could it wait till this mission is over? He inquired. Alright, she said. Hinata would hold off on discussing it until he was prepared. With Naruto's arm around her, Hinata quickly dozed off. The Kyuubi questioned, so you're finally going to tell her about me? Only if she remembers when this mission is over with. Yes, if she doesn't, well, replied Naruto. Either you tell her when the mission is over or I will. I grow tired of tiptoeing around the issue, the Kyuubi said. Naruto questioned, and how are you going to do that? You're stuck inside of me, remember, he replied. Naruto was simply laughed at by the giant fox. You think just because I'm sealed in you doesn't mean I can't talk with the outside world? He joked. Don't be so foolish, the only reason I haven't done so yet is because it would cause too many problems. With a broad smile, Naruto said, I thought you liked causing problems? Oh, trust me I do, but there is no fun in causing problems when I'm stuck in you, replied the fox. Mumbling, well, it's getting late, I should be getting Hinata back, Naruto said. In an effort to keep Hinata from waking, Naruto gently lifted her. Normally, he would have run through the trees, but he decided to walk instead since it would probably wake her. Kurenai was waiting for them on the front porch when he got to the house. Kurenai remarked, I was about to go look for you too. Naruto said, I apologize, I simply needed some time to reflect. Kurenai said, of course, could you go put Hinata to bed? That's where I was heading, he answered back. Naruto ascended the stairs to the rooms of Hinata and Kurenai. He put Hinata on the room's bed. He had just turned his back on the bed and started to walk away when he was dragged into it by a hand. Naruto landed on the bed and exclaimed, what the? Hinata, who was still asleep, was cuddling up to him. When the fox said, it seems she doesn't want you to leave, he broke into laughter. When Kurenai entered the room, she was startled to see Hinata dozing and cuddling with Naruto in bed. In an attempt to defend himself, Naruto stated, I didn't do it on purpose. Kurenai simply smiled and turned around, closing the door behind her, without saying anything. She was going to sleep on the couch tonight, so she began to laugh as she descended the stairs again. Kurenai didn't think Naruto would try anything, but she would kill him if she later learned that he had. Naruto gave his girlfriend a smile. He thought, well, I guess this isn't so bad. They would have an interesting day tomorrow, at least when Hinata wakes up in the morning and discovers that she dragged Naruto into bed with her while she was asleep. It had been a few days since Kakashi and Team 8 arrived. Every day they were there, Kakashi and Kurenai dedicated a significant amount of time to training the young genin. In the brief time they spent there, Naruto's sword skills significantly improved. Naruto had learned from Kakashi how to fortify the sword by forcing chakra through it. However, Naruto had not yet been able to combine his element with the sword. They would be going to the bridge with Tazuna in a few hours to watch over him while he and his crew finished the bridge. Kurenai and Kakashi were seated together on a tree limb. Until now, they had maintained a completely professional demeanor around one another. They were aware that the mission, or at least the risky part of Ida, would soon come to an end. His cheeks blushed slightly after Kurenai kissed him on the cheek. Kurenai inquired, so how has your training with Naruto been? He is a natural fighter, and great with a sword, Kakashi answered. But he's hiding the abilities he learned from Jiraiya. Why do you say that? The only thing he has shown me when we spare with or without the katana is his proficiency in shadow clones and his odd style of taijutsu. I know Jiraiya would have trained him in some ninjutsu and even the summoning jutsu. So you're just a little depressed he won't show you what he's capable of? Yeah, I guess I am, now that I really think about it. Kurenai cuddled up to Kakashi and giggled. Those three have progressed quite a bit since they came here, haven't they? After their brief practice this morning, Kakashi glanced down at the three genin who were resting at the base of the tree. Indeed they have. Hinata seems to have gained a lot more confidence in her own abilities the past few days. And Shino has been focusing mainly on his taijutsu, which has improved. What about your team, Kakashi? Kakashi gazed at the overcast sky. Good question. I hope when I get back Ebisu has been able to get them started. I'm sure he has. Ebisu may be a bit of an oddball, but he is a good teacher. Kami knows Sasuke could learn a thing or two from Naruto. Perhaps after we return, we could have our teams train a little together. They could learn a thing or two from each other. Kakashi wasn't talking about fighting techniques like ninjutsu. He was alluding to Naruto's incapacity to harbor resentment toward the villagers for their treatment of him. All right, we can try it, Kurenai said with a smile. Hinata was sitting in Naruto's lap near the base of the tree, and she was happy with her position. Haku had just left a few minutes ago, and they had just finished speaking with him. They have discussed a wide range of topics over the last few days, including Shino's bugs, Naruto's sword, and the reason behind Hinata's lack of pupils in her eyes. During that brief time, the four of them quickly became friends. Haku, Shino, and Hinata all enjoyed Naruto's prank stories. In an attempt to relax, Hinata cuddled up a bit, closed her eyes, and reflected on the events of the previous few days. Rewind. Hinata had dragged Naruto into bed with her the previous morning. Hinata was beginning to stir. She muttered, "This pillow is so firm." She put both of her arms around the pillow and began to cuddle with it. Naruto had Hinata's head resting on his chest. This scene was being watched from the open door by everyone else in the house. In her sleep, Hinata mumbled something that they heard. Right now, they were making a concerted effort not to laugh. Hinata realized at last that she had dozed off outside. However, how did she get into this bed and why was there a human-sized pillow if she had dozed off outside? When she realized what a human-sized pillow could be, her eyes popped open. She examined the fabric of her alleged pillow. She glanced at Naruto's face immediately. He was awake and staring at her. When Hinata began to mumble and cuddle, Naruto had woken up. With wide eyes, Hinata leapt to her feet. A jumbled mess of words, Hinata said, "Naru. Bed. Same. You." Hinata quickly passed out from hyperventilation and collapsed back on top of Naruto. It took about 5 seconds for Hinata to start moving. When Hinata, who was now unconscious, began to cuddle up against Naruto once more, Naruto flushed deeply. It could no longer be helped by anyone in the doorway. They kept laughing and laughing and laughing. Kurenai and Kakashi collapsed backwards in laughter. It was among the most amusing things they had ever witnessed. Tazuna and Tsunami managed to stand, but not very well. Shino was also laughing, something he had never done before, at least not in public. Inari was crying because he was laughing so hard that he was doubling over. Final flashback: when Shino started talking, Hinata was startled out of her reverie. Shino, whose curiosity finally got the better of him, inquired, "So you and Hinata were trying to keep your relationship from everyone?" After learning that they were already dating, Shino asked that question. "Yeah, her clan and most others don't like me. For now it's best like this," said Naruto. Looking down, Hinata couldn't figure out why they didn't like him. Shino questioned, "Why is that though? I mean, I don't see why they hate you." "Shino," Naruto said, "it's complicated." Naruto felt a little down. He and Hinata would have to resume their pre-mission behavior after this mission was over. From the tree above, Kurenai and Kakashi leapt down. "Naruto, you can tell them if you want," Kakashi remarked. "After the mission is done," answered Naruto. When Kakashi said, "Well, if Gato is going to make an attempt on Tazuna's life, it will be today," everyone took notice. "Why is that?" inquired Hinata. "The bridge would be the best place to set up an ambush, that's why," he responded. Naruto questioned, "What about Tsunami and Inari?" When Kakashi said, "I was going to ask you to stay here and protect them," Kakashi handed Naruto the earpiece and said, "Here, take this earpiece. If we need you at the bridge, I'll call you over the radio. But before you leave, you must find a safe place for Tsunami and Inari." With a, "Alright, I guess that works," Naruto commented. He inserted the earpiece and tested it briefly. Alongside Zabuza was pondering while seated in his chair. Haku and the Demon Brothers had just been sent to the bridge before him in order to either kill or disable the workers. He assumed that rather than killing them, Haku would simply disable them. Taking everything into account, he was thrilled today. The opportunity to battle a formidable foe was the sole explanation. When he had the opportunity to face a formidable opponent, he changed. "Who's better, I wonder? The Copy.Cat Ninja or me?" he pondered. Knowing he had to get out, Zabuza snatched up his sword and vanished from the room. On the bridge, all of the workers were lying on the ground when Kakashi, Kurenai, Hinata, Shino, and Tazuna arrived at the bridge. Tazuna cried, "What happened here?" Kakashi remarked, "It seems we have company." He was observing the mist that was now developing at the bridge's opposite end. Kakashi called out, "Naruto, we could use a hand over here," on the radio. "Coming," the voice replied. Standing just outside the constantly expanding mist were the Demon Brothers, Zabuza Momochi, and what appeared to be a Kiri Hunter ninja. "So good of you to come, Copy.Cat Ninja. Looks like you were missing someone from your little group," said Zabuza. To which Kakashi replied, "Oh, he's coming, don't worry." Darkly, Zabuza remarked, "Well, then I guess we should get this party started before he arrives then." Kakashi remarked, "I had a feeling I'd be seeing you two again." He was speaking to the Demon Brothers who were prepared to engage in combat. "Kakashi, I'll take the Demon Brothers, you can have Zabuza," said Kurenai. Shino murmured, "My apologies, Kurenai. Sensei, but my bugs are useless in that mist, it isn't normal," so that only his team could hear him. Kurenai gave a nod. "Hinata, you take the fake hunter ninja. Shino, you stay back and protect the bridge builder." "Hi," Hinata and Shino said simultaneously. In case someone managed to get past, Shino leapt back to protect Tazuna. Hinata was anxious because this was the first time she had attacked a person who would attempt to murder her. Hinata assumed a soft fist stance and activated her Byakugan. I must have strength. I'm capable. Hinata pondered over and over. Alongside Naruto to serve as sentries and warn him of impending danger, Naruto had created a number of clones. At the moment, Naruto was conversing with Inari and Tsunami while sipping tea inside the house. Inari inquired, "Do you think my grandfather will be alright?" He was trembling from anxiety. "I'm sure he'll be fine. My team and Kakashi are there. They won't let anything happen to him," said Naruto. Just now, one of Naruto's shadow clones scattered, alerting him to the approach of some of Gato's men. Tsunami questioned, "What is it, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Could you guys go upstairs? We have company." With a nod, Tsunami led Inari upstairs. Calmly, Naruto drained his tea. He heard footsteps approaching and the door opening. Naruto was in the room when two thugs came in. They both had swords at their waists. One of the thugs remarked, "We'll see what we have here," a runt with a rather nice-looking sword. He inquired, "Where are Tsunami and Inari?" Naruto responded to the man by asking another question, "Good question, where are they?" The boy's response irritated the two men. The other swordsman had a cunning plan. "Hey, didn't you have a girl on your team with purple hair?" replied he. His partner understood his point. "Yeah, let's go pay her a visit." Naruto's cup broke in his hand. "I won't allow you to touch her," Naruto said vehemently. One of the thugs said, "Oh, and what are you going to do about it, runt?" Darkly, "I'm going to kill you," Naruto said, drawing his sword. The two men drew their swords. What is a runt like him capable of? They both thought. The shorter of the two thugs chose to make Naruto even more agitated. "Oh, is she your girl or something? Because she was kind of cute. I wouldn't mind, you know." The thug didn't say anything else after that. The second time he finished, his head rolled along the floor and collided with his partner's foot as his body slumped to the ground. After falling backwards, the other thug attempted to flee, but Naruto's sword pierced his heart. "For your information, her hair is indigo, not purple," Naruto said, grabbing the man by the collar of his shirt just before he died, and then hurling the deceased man's body against the wall. "Well, that was absolutely brutal. You didn't even hesitate to end both their lives. And all because of your vixen." "I give the kill an 8 out of 10, the fox replied. "Shut up, fuzzball, I don't want to think about what I've just done," said Naruto. The bodies were moved out of view by Naruto. He did not want Inari to witness his actions. To see the blood, Tsunami descended the stairs. With a worried tone, she inquired, "Are you alright, Naruto?" "Naruto, we could use a hand over here," said Naruto as his radio came to life. "Coming," answered Naruto. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just get yourself and Inari to a friend's house and make sure he doesn't see all the blood. I'll send a few shadow clones with you," Naruto replied. After making a few shadow clones, Naruto hurried to the bridge. On the bridge in front of Zabuza and the Demon Brothers stood Kurenai and Kakashi. Neither party was moving. They were keeping an eye on their rivals as they awaited an opportunity. In some way, the mist was impeding Kurenai's genjutsu skills. Zabuza observed the battle between Hinata and Haku and remarked, "Well, it seems that girl isn't half bad when it comes to taijutsu." XXXXXXXXX. When Haku punched Hinata, she ducked and tried to trip him with a sweeping foot motion, but he simply backflipped away. Holding a senbon, he leapt back. He jabbed with the senbon, but Hinata ducked and used a Juken strike to hit him in the chest. "It appears that I won't be able to continue doing this for very long," he thought. Haku jumped back a short distance to execute his jutsu, saying, "I'm sorry, but I have to end this." Demonic ice mirrors, he declared as enormous ice mirrors sprang up all around Hinata. Hinata stood in the middle of what appeared to be an ice prison. She reverted to her soft fist position. The mirrors were composed of chakra and ice. She was unable to identify which mirror the ninja was in, even with her Byakugan. XXXXXXXXX. Zabuza laughed. "I hope you two aren't planning to go anywhere, seeing as if you do, the old man will die." After exchanging nods, Kurenai and Kakashi started fighting. Kakashi lunged at Zabuza, drawing his sword. Kurenai pulled out two kunai and hurled them at the brothers of the demon. XXXXXXXXX. Hinata realized she was in trouble when Haku showed up in every mirror. "I do not wish to kill you. Please surrender and I will spare your life," Haku replied. Although Hinata recognized the voice, she was unable to recall where she had heard it. She said, "I'm sorry, but I can't do that." Haku started out slowly, launching senbon from a small number of mirrors at once. Because of her adaptability and recent sparring sessions, Hinata was able to avoid all of the senbon for the time being. A few of the senbon struck home, digging into Hinata's right arm as Haku accelerated. 4 of the senbon dug into Hinata's arm, causing her to yell in agony. XXXXXXXXX Kurenai wanted to rush to her aid, but she was unable to separate from the demon brothers. She dodged beneath one of their claws and struck the man's face with a huge right hook. Kurenai's shoulder was grazed by one of the 5 shuriken from the mist, which were the other demon brother. XXXXXXXXX Zabuza said, "Well Kakashi, that is quite the woman," alluding to Kurenai. They continued to strike back and forth between their blades. "We should really stop messing around, Zabuza," Kakashi said. Kakashi showed off his Sharingan by taking off the headband covering his left eye. "I would have to agree with you, Kakashi, we really should," Zabuza replied. He leapt back into the mist's denser area. Kakashi turned into water, but Zabuza came up behind him and cut him in half. When Kakashi emerged behind him and sliced him in 2 with his katana, Zabuza's eyes widened and he too turned into water. Well, it seems you know the water clone jutsu, Kakashi." The 2 seasoned shinobi kept up their lethal game, each attempting to outsmart the other. XXXXXXXXX When Naruto finally reached the bridge, he was concerned because it was completely obscured by mist, making it impossible to see anything inside. Shino and Tazuna were there when he dashed into the fog. Naruto started to get anxious. He exclaimed, "Where is Hinata?" Shino gestured toward the ice mirrors that were made in the prison. Hinata was lying on the ground when Naruto reached the ice mirrors. About 24 senbon protruded from her. All of the blood had tinted Hinata's coat red. Naruto could only gaze in anger, which was nothing in comparison to what he had experienced at any other point in his life. Around him, a red chakra started to swirl. He had slits in his eyes that were turning blood red. The dark scars on his cheeks were getting darker and more noticeable, and his hands were starting to resemble claws. Naruto was determined to kill whoever had harmed Hinata, so he ran directly at the ice mirrors. XXXXXXXXX At that point, all of the seasoned shinobi ceased their attacks. Malicious chakra and a huge wave of murderous intent had swept across the bridge. Kakashi was familiar with this chakra. He had previously sensed it. Whatever became of Naruto's seal? He pondered. Kurenai had the same thought going through her head. Zabuza had no idea what was happening. He had never experienced anything so strong or malevolent. "I apologize to Zabuza, but we must put an end to this," Kakashi said, removing a scroll from his vest and smearing it with blood. XXXXXXXXX Using the opportunity, Kurenai struck one of the demon brothers cleanly, rendering him unconscious. She threw 2 kunai at him as she turned to face the other one. The remaining demon brother used his gauntlet to block their path. XXXXXXXXX Naruto landed beside Hinata after bursting through one of the mirrors. Naruto gazed at the motionless figure of Hinata. His rage reached a peak and he released more chakra. Mirrors cracked from the intensity of the chakra wave. "I won't stand a chance at this rate," Haku reflected. Haku simultaneously threw senbon from each mirror. Every senbon struck, but Naruto remained motionless. As his wounds healed themselves and each senbon burst out of him, Naruto started to laugh. Naruto gave Haku a direct glance. Naruto declared, "I'm going to kill you." Haku had one final opportunity, so he leapt out of his mirror behind Naruto and used his senbon straight at his brainstem. Turning around, Naruto seized Haku by the throat. Naruto said, "Any final words?" as he tightened his hold on Haku's throat. XXXXXXXXX Kakashi prepared his jutsu because he was quite concerned about that second chakra wave. Kakashi remarked, "Well Zabuza, it's been fun." Slamming his hand to the floor, Kakashi yelled, "Summoning technique, earth release, tracking fang." Beneath Zabuza, Kakashi's dogs emerged from the earth and clung to him. Immediately, the fog around the bridge started to clear. In Zabuza's words, "That is quite the jutsu Kakashi, it seems you win." XXXXXXXXX. "I'm sorry," Haku claimed. Naruto answered, "You're sorry? That's all you can say?" A hand seized Haku's leg just as Naruto was ready to crush his neck. When Naruto looked down, Hinata was crying and staring directly at him. "Please let Haku go," she uttered pathetically. Naruto's eyes returned to their natural hue as his rage vanished. When he removed the mask, it became clear that the boy he was going to murder was actually Haku. As Naruto let go of Haku, the mirrors surrounding them broke. Naruto picked Hinata up in bridal fashion after taking off the senbon. He clung to her as though she were going to vanish. Haku stood there feeling very alone and said nothing. Naruto berated himself, saying, "Hinata, I'm sorry, I should have been here sooner." Hinata touched him on the cheek. She said, "It's okay, Naruto-kun." Hinata pulled his head down with what remained of her strength, and they shared a passionate kiss. Shortly after their kiss was over, Hinata passed out. When Naruto realized she was breathing, he initially panicked. Hinata simply needed to rest because she was exhausted. The mist spread out most of it. After Zabuza and Haku were vanquished, the other demon brother gave up. The sound of clapping caused everyone to turn. "What a disappointment, after all that you couldn't even finish the job," Gato said. Behind him, Gato had 100 thugs who appeared to be very bloodthirsty. "Well Kakashi, it seems I'm out of a job, how about we call a truce?" Zabuza responded. "I have no reason to go after Tazuna anymore." Kakashi motioned to his dogs to release Zabuza, saying, "That sounds reasonable to me." The two ninjas of the Junin class prepared for a traditional beating. Grabbing Zabuza's sword, Kakashi tossed it to him. Grabbing the sword, Zabuza laid it across his back. "So Zabuza, what do you have in mind for these guys?" "I was thinking water dragon." Zabuza initiated a lengthy sequence of hand signals. Kakashi started using his own set of hand signals. Zabuza yelled, "Water release, water dragon jutsu." From the bridge's right side, a huge water dragon emerged. Gato's thugs were dwarfed by the water dragon. Exclaiming, "Lightning release, bolt." Kakashi completed his own hand signals. In Kakashi's hand, a massive lightning chakra bolt formed. The huge bolt of lightning elemental chakra was thrown into the enormous water dragon by Kakashi. Most of Gato's thugs were killed when the now lightning-powered water dragon crashed into the bridge, carrying them over the edge. At the end of the bridge, the remaining thugs fled for the boat. Behind Gato, Kakashi materialized, snatched him by the shirt collar, and pulled him toward the others. According to Kakashi, "Now Gato, it's time to write some checks," he said gravely. "Never," Gato answered. "Zabuza, he's all yours," Kakashi declared. "All right, I'll do it," exclaimed Gato. At last, everyone from Tazuna's town came to the bridge to observe the fighting's damage. They carried pitchforks and other sharp implements. They had a lot to discuss when the ninja returned to Tazuna's house after crossing the bridge. As the heroes crossed the bridge, the villagers applauded them. At Konoha, a shiver went down Hiruzen's spine as he worked on some paperwork. "Why does it seem like I'll have a ton of paperwork to handle when Naruto returns?" With a sigh, Hiruzen returned to reviewing the daily reports. Hiruzen was grown concerned because he hadn't heard from Team 8 or Kakashi in days. At the home of Tazuna, Naruto just finished sharing his small secret with his teammates. "I see, that's why everyone in the village stares at you like that," said Shino. "Naruto-kun, were you afraid we would hate you for something you had no control over?" replied Hinata. The answer from Naruto was, "Yeah, it seemed like a major trend back in the village." Kakashi popped his head into the room and said, "Well, now that the explanation is over, let's go to town and partake in the party." "What? We don't have anything to wear other than our ninja clothes," Hinata responded. Kakashi remarked, "In any case, I don't think anyone will mind." The three genin rose to accompany Kurenai and Kakashi to the town's party. When the five of them got to town, they saw that the buildings were lit up. There was life in the town. People were laughing and drinking. Compared to when they had arrived, it was entirely different. They were welcomed by Tazuna and his family. Taking a bottle, Tazuna asked, "So you all decided to join in the festivities?" As Kakashi put it, "Yeah, although I wasn't sure everyone was up for it." Haku approached the Leaf Shinobi group on foot. Haku questioned Naruto, "Are we still friends?" "I've never really been able to hold a grudge, plus you were only doing your job," Naruto sighed, raising his hand in the air. Haku shook hands with Naruto. Zabuza emerged from the crowd and remarked, "Actually boy, his job was to kill his opponent, not just hit a few pressure points to knock them out." Kakashi remarked, Even the demon of the mist decided to join the party, so what are your plans now?" "Not sure, not much work out there for a missing ninja who turns on their own employers." "Well, why don't you come with us? I'm sure the old man could use you for something," Naruto replied. I turned on the Mizukage. "Do you really think he would even consider such a thing?" replied Zabuza. Naruto answered, "If I ask him he would probably consider it." In a taunt to the missing ninja, Naruto said, "What, are you scared?" Despite his complaints, Zabuza saw the young genin's remarks as a challenge. "Alright boy, we will see what happens, but I doubt he will consider it at all." Naruto smiled slyly as he had an idea. "Alright, if he allows you to become ninja of the village you have to train me." Zabuza laughed. "Sounds interesting, but if he doesn't I get that sword of yours." "Alright, right, it's a deal then. I win, you train me, you win, you get my sword." To complete the transaction, they shook hands. "Well, now that you two are friends, can we move on to the party?" replied Kakashi. Kakashi and Kurenai left and vanished into the throng. While Haku was questioning Shino about his village, they parted ways. Zabuza went out to get a drink at a bar. Both Hinata and Naruto exchanged a smile. They also disappeared into the crowd. Zabuza and his men, along with all the other ninja, were thanked for their assistance. All of Gato's wealth had been stolen by the Wave people. Somewhere in the land of waves, they sentenced him to hard labor for the rest of his life. The sun had finally set after hours of the party. It was now close to midnight, and it didn't appear that the celebration would end until dawn. Kurenai, Shino, Haku, and the Demon Brothers were watching Kakashi and Zabuza engage in a drinking contest in a bar. The amount of alcohol the group had already consumed made them feel a little repulsed. Furthermore, it didn't appear that they would be stopping anytime soon. They both stopped in the middle of their shot, just as they were about to take another. "Come out already," said Kakashi. A group of 4 Anbu emerged behind Kakashi. The Anbu squad's leader apologized, saying, "Hokage. Sama was getting a little worried." "Understandable, considering who's on Kurenai's team," says Kakashi. "Now if you could kindly step back, me and Zabuza here aren't finished with our contest." "But he's a missing ninja," exclaimed another Anbu. "I may be a bit drunk, but I can still see clearly. Now leave and tell the Hokage we will return once the bridge is completed," Kakashi said with a firm voice. Anbu, the leader, bowed. The 4 Anbu said, "Of course sir," and vanished. Now where were we? With Hinata and Naruto had sneaked out of the celebration. They discovered that they were observing everything from the top of the town's tallest building. Naruto had Hinata seated in his lap. She wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and let out a joyful sigh. Hinata noticed Naruto's grave expression as she glanced up at him. "What's wrong, Naruto-kun?" For a minute, Naruto said nothing. "I thought I lost you when I saw you lying on the ground like that." With a smile, Hinata gave Naruto a cheek kiss. "Everything worked out in the end, right?" Grinning, Naruto gave her a hug. "Yeah, I guess you're right." The party was finally beginning to wind down at 3 in the morning. After picking Hinata up in bridal fashion, Naruto left for Tazuna's home. It appeared that Kakashi and Zabuza were too inebriated to walk alone, so Naruto watched them being assisted out of the bar. Holding Hinata, Naruto fell in front of them. "Well, it seems you two drank a lot," Naruto said. Zabuza managed to say, "Yeah, too bad the bar ran out of drinks before one of us passed out," without slurring his words. Kakashi grabbed Kurenai's butt, causing her face to flush. She scowled at him, and all he could do was smile drunkenly. Her words, "I think these two need to get some sleep," came out. Kurenai felt ashamed. She reasoned that he could have at least waited until we were by ourselves. As a group, they left the party and went to Tazuna's house to put the 2 drunks to bed and rest. It had been 2 weeks since the liberation of the Land of Waves. Naruto's shadow clones helped to complete the bridge. For 14 hours every day, Naruto would leave some shadow clones at the bridge and run off to train in the forest. In order for Naruto to sleep, Hinata would have to carry him back to the house while unconscious. Naruto was causing Hinata concern. He threw himself into his training without turning around. This was different, even though she knew he had trained himself into the ground. Nobody else appeared to find Naruto's actions particularly strange. Sitting upright in a tree and observing Naruto train with his shadow clones once more, Hinata sighed. Naruto was receiving some last-minute training before they left in an hour. When Hinata said, "Naruto-kun, it's time to go," she leapt from the tree. "Oh right. Coming." Naruto approached Hinata and gave her a hug. "Is something wrong, Hinata-chan?" "I'm worried. You've been acting weird since the construction of the bridge started again." "This is my normal training schedule, though. That's not what I mean." With a sigh, Naruto embraced him more tightly. "I'm just not ready to go back to the village yet. I mean, I can't be with you all the time, or hold you like I am now." Hinata tried to make Naruto smile by saying, "I know, but maybe we can get another C-ranked mission soon," and it appeared to be successful. Hinata's suggestion made Naruto smile. "You're right, plus we can always go to Myobokuzen every once in a while." Hinata nodded, grinning. "Right?" she exclaimed joyfully. They left to meet with everyone at the bridge. As they walked, Hinata emerged from the forest beside the bridge, her arms encircling Naruto's. When they approached everyone, she grinned broadly. Naruto grinned broadly and said, "So, Zabuza, not going to chicken out, are you?" Zabuza answered, "Huh, and miss the chance to get your sword? Not likely?" The words, "Well, Tazuna, this is goodbye for now," were spoken by Kakashi. Tazuna nodded, grinning. Indeed. Thank you all for everything. The ninja leaf gave a nod. Before taking to the trees, they said a few more good-byes and said hello. Tsunami said, "So, Dad, what should we call the bridge?" "How about the Great Naruto Bridge?" After the person who was the first to suggest to his comrades that they see the mission through to the end, he said. "I like it," said Inari. In Konoha once more, the gate guards were bored. This job was simple and paid well, but nothing noteworthy ever happened there. Team 8 and Kakashi Hatake were spotted approaching the gate by the two gatekeepers. At first, they were unable to identify the four people they saw with them. When the guards saw that it was Zabuza Momochi and the Demon Brothers strolling alongside Kakashi Hatake and Team 8, they leapt from their seats. As the group passed them, the guards remained silent. "Well, it seems the guards were surprised to see me," Zabuza replied. "Well, it's not every day you see a criminal of your reputation walking through the Leaf Village gates," replied Kakashi. "I suppose that's true. So where to first?" Zabuza inquired. Naruto answered, "Well, I guess we have to see the old man first." Zabuza questioned, "Old man? What old man?" "He means the Hokage," added Kurenai. Zabuza questioned incredulously, "He calls the third Hokage, a man known as God of Shinobi, old man?" Naruto shot back, "That's right, Bandage Man." Kakashi muttered, "This is going to be a long day." Kakashi had just finished mumbling when Team 7 appeared around the corner. As soon as Ebisu saw Zabuza and the Demon Brothers, he stopped speaking. "Well, if it isn't Kakashi, Senpai and—" "What's wrong?" inquired Sakura. She had just turned the corner to see what was wrong with Sasuke and Kiba. "That tall man standing next to your sensei is Zabuza Momochi. He's extremely dangerous," replied Ebisu. "Doesn't look so tough to me," Sasuke said. Kiba accepted Sasuke's statement and asked, "Yeah, what's so special about him?" Zabuza vanished directly in front of them and then resurfaced directly behind Kiba and Sasuke. He said in a somber tone, "I could have killed you just now, if I had wanted to." Both of their spines tingled. They turned around with kunai ready, but he had already left and was standing next to Kakashi once more. Anbu showed up all over the group. Kakashi simply waved them away without saying anything, and they vanished. Kakashi said, "Zabuza, your fun can wait, we have things to do." Zabuza answered, "You're a real killjoy, you know that?" "So I've been told," went the copy.ninja. The group headed to the office of the Hokage. Zabuza had left Sasuke and Kiba somewhat shaken. When they reached the Hokage Tower, they made their presence known by moving through Anbu and the building. The group reached the Hokage's office door. The secretary's desk is where Zabuza left his sword. When they entered the third Hokage's office, Jiraiya was seated on the windowsill and he was waiting in his chair. "Well, when I heard Zabuza and the Demon Brothers were with you Kakashi, I was a bit shocked," Hiruzen replied. With a, "Yeah, things just kind of happened," Kakashi answered. Jiraiya inquired, "So are you turning yourselves in?" "No," Zabuza replied on behalf of his men. Hiruzen questioned, "Really? What are you here for then?" When Zabuza said, "I'm here to make a request," both Hiruzen and Jiraiya arched an eyebrow. Hiruzen inquired, "What would this request be?" Zabuza hesitantly stated, "My associates and I would like to become ninja of this village." "That is certainly an interesting request," Hiruzen said. "Why would I even consider such a request?" Naruto said, "Oh come on old man, give him a shot," drawing attention from Jiraiya and Hiruzen. "Naruto, do you know what this man has done in the past?" "I've heard all about it, yes. You were the one to suggest this, weren't you, Naruto?" "Well, actually, yes. I should have known." Hiruzen rubbed his temples and sighed. "Alright, I'll give you one chance. For the first month, Anbu will watch you constantly and you will submit to an interrogation by Ibiki. If you give me any reason at all to think you're plotting some type of takeover, I'll send you to the Mizukage in chains," Hiruzen said with a serious look on his face. Disbelieving, Zabuza questioned, "Wait, just because that child asked you, you're going to allow it?" Naruto yelled, "Ha, now you have to train me." Hiruzen arched his brows. Kakashi took a seat on the windowsill's edge. Zabuza and Naruto made a bet. If you allowed Zabuza to become a ninja of the village, he would train Naruto. If Zabuza won the bet, he gets Naruto's sword. And I won. When Hiruzen and Jiraiya finally saw Naruto's sword on his back, they both gave Kakashi a fierce look. Hiruzen grinned and said, "Naruto, you and your team can go now. Zabuza, his men, Kakashi, and I have much to discuss." "All right, old man, see you around," Naruto said, beaming broadly. Kakashi, Zabuza, and his men were left in the room with Hiruzen and Jiraiya after Team 8 left. Fukasaku appeared in front of Team 8, who had just exited the Hokage Tower. "Oh, hey, Fukasaku. Jiken. What brings you here?" replied Naruto. "Naruto, your request has been completed and is ready whenever you are. Just summon Gamakichi when you're ready," Fukasaku said. "Thanks," answered Naruto. Fukasaku said, "Of course, just try to avoid Gamabunta. He's still a bit upset about the last prank you pulled," before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. Naruto loved to play practical jokes and couldn't help but smile. Kurenai questioned, "What was all that about Naruto?" "Sorry, can't tell you," he said, grinning foxy. Hinata said, "I should go tell my father I'm home." "Yes," Shino said, "and I should tell my family as well." The two of them set out toward their individual residences. Kurenai was left standing as Naruto scowled and turned to leave for his apartment. Demon of the Mist. Zabuza Momochi was in the village, and word of his presence spread swiftly. Additionally, the rumor that Naruto was the one who persuaded the Hokage to permit Zabuza and his friends to join the village's ninja ranks spread quickly. Aburame's home Shino reached the estate of the Aburame clan. He observed Shibi, his father, caring for the different bug colonies. Shibi noticed his son approaching from behind him. "Ah, my son, how was your mission?" According to Shino, "It went quite well. Good. How are you getting along with your teammates?" "Quite well. Naruto and Hinata are quite reliable." "Excellent. Has Naruto told you anything special about himself?" Shino gave a nod. "He has. I don't understand why people hate him for something out of his control." Shibi halted his current task. "That is just merely how people are. Some just can't let go of the past, I suppose." Shino repositioned his glasses. "Do you hate him?" Shibi recalled. "No, it's as you said. How can someone hate the boy for something he had no control over? Oh, shortly before you arrived, a messenger from the Hokage informed me that your mission was changed from a C-ranked mission to A-ranked. That was to be expected considering what happened." Shibi glanced at his son, who appeared to be experiencing some sort of distress. "You seem troubled. What is the problem?" "There is something I don't understand about Naruto. And that would be? He always seems so happy about everything. I just don't understand this. The boy has been mistreated for the majority of his life. He most likely hides his pain behind that mask." When Shibi's wife finished making a late lunch, one of his bugs came back to tell him. The two of them entered the house and said, "It appears your mother made a late lunch. We shouldn't keep her waiting." The Hyuga estate Hinata had just returned home, and she wasn't particularly thrilled about it. The two branch members who typically stood watch at the front gate greeted Hinata. They commended her for completing her mission successfully. Even though the branch family only showed a small amount of concern, she was happy to see it. They told her about the change in mission rank before she passed. With a smile on her face, Hinata bowed and entered the house. Hinata strolled through the Hyuga estate's corridors. She was going to her father's office to let him know she had returned home. Hinata stopped by the dojo to watch her cousin resume his training. When not on missions or with his team, Neji appeared to be in the dojo all the time these days. Hinata hesitated to go inside her father's office, so she stopped in front of it. After a single knock, Hinata slid the door aside and entered. Hinata bowed and said, "Hello father, I've returned from my mission." "Yes, I've already received a full report on your mission and the fact that the ranking was changed," Heishi responded. He spoke in a neutral tone. Hinata cast her gaze downward. "I'll be going then, I'm sure Kurenai Sensei has some training for us," Hinata said, bowing as she left the room. He could have at least said welcome home. With a sigh, Heishi opened a drawer and took out a photo of himself, his wife, and Hinata. One of the few times he truly smiled was in the photo. Alongside Naruto sitting in his apartment, Naruto was buffing his sword's sheath. Naruto let out a sigh. He was having fun in Wave Country. He was somewhat pleased to learn of the mission's rank change from a Hokage messenger when he returned to his apartment. A knock on the door interrupted Naruto as he was buffing the sheath of his katana. As he made his way to his front door, he wondered who that might be. Jiraiya was there when Naruto opened the door. Naruto said, "Hey pervy sage. What's up?" Jiraiya said, "Can we discuss this inside?" "Oh, yeah sure," Naruto said, gesturing for him to enter. Naruto inquired, "So, pervy sage, what brings you here?" "Well, Kakashi said you released some of your tenant's energy and..." Naruto interrupted Jiraiya. After Jiraiya nodded, Naruto said, "And you want to make sure nothing is wrong with the seal, right? Okay, let's just get this over with. I have training to do." In order to reveal the seal, Naruto raised his shirt and directed some of his chakra. After a brief inspection, Jiraiya found that the seal was in perfect condition. In an uninterested tone, Naruto questioned. So anything wrong with the seal? According to Jiraiya, nope. Nothing's wrong. Everything seems to be in order, so how was the trip to the wave? He asked after settling into a chair. Naruto said, it was great. I wish it would have lasted longer to be honest, with good cheer. Jiraiya attempted to tease Naruto by asking, so you could spend more time with a certain someone, am I right? Naruto reddened a little. Yeah, I suppose that's part of the reason. He inquired, so where did you get the sword? Oh, Kakashi gave it to me. He said it was an early birthday present. Indeed, too early by 2 years. Well, that was nice of him. So did he teach you how to use it? Jiraiya asked, a little irritated. Yeah, excellent. Did he tell you who the previous owner of the sword was? Nope, not that I can remember, I never asked about it. Why? Replied Naruto. Jiraiya grinned broadly and said, no reason, I guess. I heard you had made a request to Fukasaku. Naruto blushed a little when he considered it. Yeah, I asked him if it was alright to bring Hinata-chan on a date to Myobokuzen. Well, that is definitely an interesting request and an odd use for the reverse summoning jutsu, Jiraiya said. He flung a scroll to Naruto after removing it from his jacket. Naruto caught it and asked, what is this? Jiraiya got up to go after saying, well, some of it is your pay from the wave mission, and the rest is your birthday money. Jiraiya left the room, saying, oh, that money might be of great use one day. You might want to save it for when you're older. Naruto was a little perplexed. Jiraiya's meaning was unclear to him. With a shrug, Naruto chose to open the scroll and check its contents. When Naruto opened the scroll, a significant amount of money was scattered across the floor in a puff of smoke. 2 million ryo must be present, excitedly, Naruto thought. With haste, he picked it up off the ground and sealed it inside the scroll. After moving his bed a short distance, Naruto pulled out a small chest from a floorboard. He didn't know who had given him the chest at the time, but it was one of his birthday presents. He now realizes that Hinata was the one who gave him the chest. Grinning, he inserted the scroll into his chest, hurriedly replaced the floorboard, and pushed the bed back. After noticing how empty his room felt, Naruto snatched up his sword and leapt through one of his apartment's windows. On top of the Hokage monument, Naruto discovered himself. He perched on the head of the 4th Hokage. It was calm up here, with a pleasant breeze blowing, and he kind of liked it. The Tower of Hokage. Ah, good you're all here. I would like formally introduce some new ninja to this village, Hiruzen said. He had summoned his most seasoned Junin into the room and was speaking to the Anbu captains. Hiruzen yelled, would you please enter the room? Haku, Gozu, Maizu, and Zabuza Momochi all wore headbands and leaf village vests when they entered the room. A Junin shouted in disapproval. You can't be serious. He's a wanted criminal. How could you allow this? Said the man. Hiruzen said in a frustrated tone, hold your tongue, child. I've already had them evaluated by Ibiki and he doesn't see any problem with it either. The Junin appeared to fade into the distance. Kakashi approached them. So how was the interrogation? Well, it was interesting, I have to admit, Zabuza said. Kurenai approached Kakashi and took hold of his arm. She inquired, so Haku, how is the village so far? Haku smiled slightly and said, well, I didn't get to see much of it yet, but I rather like it here. As Kurenai and Kakashi casually conversed with the renegade mist ninja who had now transformed into a leaf shinobi, everyone watched in awe. Zabuza said, you know Kakashi, we still need to finish the drinking contest of ours, and his smile was visible through the combat wraps. Hiruzen's eyebrow went up. That wasn't in your report, Kakashi. Well, I really didn't see a point in adding that part since the mission at the time was over. Well, for the most part, he responded. I see, now introductions and such are over, you are all dismissed and can go back to your regular duties, Hiruzen said. At the 3rd training ground, Naruto was sparring with his shadow clones as part of his regular training regimen. When Naruto heard a figure emerge from the bushes, he swiftly defeated the clones. Before continuing, he waited to see who it was. Naruto couldn't help but smile when Hinata appeared out of the forest. Hinata's sad expression caught Naruto's attention. Thinking she deserved it, he went over and gave her a hug. According to Naruto, what's wrong, Hinata-chan? Hinata's face was buried in his shirt. I just wish my father would have said, welcome home, or nice job, or something like that when I arrived home today. What do you mean? Asked Naruto, who was a little perplexed by what Hinata was discussing. Hinata's hold on him became more firm. As Hinata began sobbing into Naruto's shirt, she said, my father is a heartless man. He never encourages me to do better. He only berates me when I don't live up to his expectations. When I got home, I was hoping he would at least say, welcome home. When I went to see him, Instead he greets me like anyone else and isn't even surprised with the completion of our mission. Naruto sighed. He didn't know what to say because he didn't really have any family-related experience. However, Naruto was a little irate. A father was meant to support and motivate his children to achieve more, right? Hinata simply nodded into his shirt in response to the question. Do you want to go to Myobokuzen tonight since Fukasaku Jiken said my request was finished? Alongside Haku, since Haku had no criminal history aside from his relationship with Zabuza, he was free to move about the village. Zabuza had bought him an apartment, and Haku had left his headband and ninja vest there. He was wandering aimlessly through the village's streets, merely observing his surroundings and not really moving in any direction. Abruptly, he ran into a blonde girl with a rose bush in her hand. He caught her in the rose bush before they hit the ground as she started to topple over. Haku apologized, saying, I should have been watching where I was going. The boy who had caught her was, for want of a better word, gorgeous, and the girl flushed. Her response was, no problem. Holding the rose bush, Haku released her. He eventually saw the leaf headband on her and asked, would you like some help with this? With a smile, the girl nodded. A cute-looking boy's assistance? Of course, she pondered. For a while they walked silently through Konoha's streets. What's your name? Inquired the girl. Haku is my name. What would be yours? She responded, I'm Ino Yamanaka, with a pale pink flush. Haku said, well, it's nice to meet you Ino, and he thought she was cute. Likewise, she replied. They strolled down the street until they reached her mother's flower shop, where Ino led Haku inside due to the size of the rosebush, which made it difficult to see around. Put it down here, stated Ino. Inoichi entered the room to find Haku standing next to his daughter, and found the closeness intolerable. Haku looked around, and he liked the abundance of flowering plants in the room. Excuse me, but would you step away from my daughter? Haku obeyed and moved away, but Ino raised an eyebrow, wondering what was wrong with his father, who had never asked any boy to leave her. What's the matter, Dad? After realizing her father didn't want her in the room at the moment, Ino hurried out, saying, I think your mom is looking for you. What are you doing with my daughter? What are you saying? I was just assisting Ino in carrying the rose bush here, he inquired. Inoichi was skilled at reading people, and based on Haku's tone of voice and body language, he was speaking the truth. I see. Hey Haku, my mom needs a few more things done, Ino said as she returned to the room. Would you mind assisting me? Sure, I'll help, he wrote back. Her father was a little worried that Haku would try anything with his daughter, so he and Ino left the flower shop. At Kurenai's residence, Kakashi was standing in civilian clothes in front of Kurenai, who was reading a book on her couch when she heard a knock at the door. Kurenai closed the book and answered. Hey Kurenai-chan, would you like to take a stroll around the town and possibly grab a bite to eat since we're not on duty right now? Kakashi inquired. Kurenai grinned and said, yes. After a few minutes, Kurenai emerged wearing a day dress. Let me go change first. They walked toward the village's shopping district, where Kakashi held out his arm, and she smiled and hooked her arm in his. After 15 minutes, they saw Iruka and Anko, who were strolling down the street looking at different things, with Kurenai and Kakashi approaching them. Kurenai remarked, well, it looks like Anko finally got a man. Kakashi and Kurenai were standing beside them when Anko and Iruka turned, and they blushed when they saw who it was. How about we all go out to eat, together? Kakashi proposed. Okay, why not? Are you game, Anko-chan? Iruka inquired. Yes, she answered. With Hinata and Naruto after calming Hinata, Naruto turned to face the sky, where the sun would set in a few hours. Hey Hinata-chan, want to go there now? With a slight smile, Hinata turned to face Naruto and said, sure. A tiny orange and black frog emerged in a puff of smoke after Naruto cut his finger, performed the proper hand seals, and slammed his hand down on the ground. Gamakichi remarked, yo, Naruto Gramps said you would be summoning me soon. That Naruto-kun is who? Hinata inquired. Oh, this is Gamakichi, Naruto said. Hey, Gamakichi, is it possible for us to introduce ourselves at Myobokuzen? Oh sure, just hold on to her, since she hasn't signed the contract, Gamakichi said. Naruto grinned and picked her up in bridal style, and she blushed violently. A few seconds later, Gamakichi vanished in a cloud of smoke, along with Naruto and Hinata. They showed up in a dense area of bushes, and Naruto set Hinata down and pushed the bushes aside so she could pass. Why did you bring us out here? Naruto sighed. Naruto inquired. Because Pops is still mad at you from the time you changed his normal bathwater into salt water. Naruto laughed, and Hinata couldn't help but laugh as well. "Oh, I forgot about that one. Now that I think about it, he did get pretty mad at me for that," he said. When they eventually made it through the dense undergrowth, Hinata was astounded by how stunning the area was. "What do you think, Hinata?" Naruto inquired. "I adore it. This place is really lovely." Astonished, Hinata cried out. "I'm glad you enjoy it. Could you give her a tour, Gamakichi? While I'm here, I need to speak with a few of the elders," Naruto said to Hinata and then Gamakichi. "Oh, of course, I'd be glad to." Gamakichi and Hinata left to explore the surroundings. "So, Gamakichi is your name?" Hinata inquired. "Yes, which is yours?" "Mine's Hinata Hyuga," she smiled as she spoke. Naruto was just gazing into space when he heard his name called out, and he grinned as he watched Hinata leave with Gamakichi. "You are a brat, Naruto. Where are you?" Gamabunta shouted. Naruto said, "And with that I should make my exit," before vanishing in a flurry of foliage. "What Gamakichi was that?" Hinata inquired. "Oh, that's my father. He appears to be aware of Naruto's presence," Gamakichi replied. "Is Naruto-kun going to be okay?" Hinata inquired. Gamakichi's quiet wasn't exactly comforting. The ground shook, and a huge red toad with an ugly scar in front of them appeared. "He's Gamakichi. Where is He?" Gamabunta let out a roar. "Pops, don't know. When you began to yell, he fled," Gamakichi replied. "Wow, that brat." After shouting, Gamabunta eventually saw Hinata standing beside Gamakichi and inquired, "Oh, and who might this be?" "Oh, this is Naruto's girlfriend, Hinata." When Gamakichi said that, Hinata flushed. "Hinata Hyuga is my name." She bowed her head courteously and said, "I'm glad to meet you." Gamabunta remarked, "Well, at least some people have manners, unlike that brat." Alongside Haku and Ino, after blushing a little when Haku smiled, Ino said, "Thanks for helping me with the shopping my mom needed," and then he asked, "If you're not busy later in the week, do you mind stopping by?" In response, Haku said, "I would like that." As Haku left, Ino waved goodbye. Zabuza said, "So Haku, this was where you've been," as he materialized beside him. "Well, I wanted to look around the village while I had the chance, Zabuza. Sama," Haku responded. "I understand. In any case," Zabuza stated, "Gozu and Maizu are waiting." Haku trailed closely behind Zabuza as he left, at a sushi bar. Kakashi said, "So that's how you two started going out," and he laughed a little. "Oh, Kakashi, hurry up," Iruka remarked, "don't laugh." For the first time, Anko was a little embarrassed by Kakashi's remarks and had no response. Anko remarked, "So I hear your mission was bumped up to an A rank, Kurenai," while she continued to eat sushi. "Yeah, I suppose it will look good on my team's record," she said. "How did my former pupils fare, then?" Iruka inquired. Kakashi remarked nonchalantly as he took a sip of his drink, "Hinata and Shino are progressing quite well, and did well under pressure, but Naruto's growth is a bit scary, to be honest." Kakashi was never one to give people praise, so the other three people at the table just stared at him. "So, what do you suppose Naruto is doing at the moment?" Iruka inquired. "He's probably going through his daily 14-hour training routine, or at least as much of it as he can get in," replied Kurenai. "In Myobokuzen, I apologize, Gamabunta, it will never occur again," Naruto screamed as he fled from the big, enraged toad. "When you switched out my drink for saltwater the last time, you said that," the enormous toad let out a roar. "Oh, hurry up. You must admit that was amusing." As he sidestepped Gamabunta's enormous blade, Naruto yelled. "Will Naruto-kun withstand this?" Hinata, who was sitting a good distance away from the two with Gamakichi, asked. "Yes, he will be all right," Gamakichi muttered, "as long as he doesn't get hit." "What's happening?" Fukasaku inquired. Gamakichi said, "Hey Gramps, you might want to stop Pops before he goes overboard and kills Naruto." Knowing this was inevitable, Fukasaku sighed and said, "Yeah, I guess I best stop him before he loses all his self-control." Gamabunta saw who had just landed on him and instantly stopped when Fukasaku appeared on his head. "Will you put an end to this childish behavior, Gamabunta? I am certain that you have already met the person Naruto asked me to bring here. Given his current lack of time, Naruto is unlikely to be able to do this frequently. So, at least for the time being, would you please stop behaving like a child?" the elderly toad inquired. Gamabunta complained a little. "All right, for all the trouble later, as long as that brat buys me sake." "Good, now that that's settled, Naruto, I believe that girl Hinata is waiting for you," Fukasaku said, turning to face Naruto, who nodded in agreement. After nodding and vanishing in a whirlpool of leaves, Naruto materialized beside Hinata and extended his arm, which Hinata accepted with a smile before they both left. While exploring Myobokuzen, Naruto and Hinata stopped in front of a waterfall. Hinata thought the area was great and didn't want to live there, but it was a good place to be if you wanted to escape from everything. "This is fantastic, Naruto-kun," Hinata exclaimed with joy. "Want to go see the large statues now?" Naruto grinned. Did he ask? With a joyful nod and a smile, Hinata asked, "Are they really large?" She inquired. "They come in a wide variety of sizes." As they made their way to the stone statues, Hinata laid her head on Naruto's shoulder and he enthusiastically responded. The statues' sizes varied from half of Hinata's own to at least 50 times hers, and she exclaimed, "This is amazing, Naruto-kun. I'm happy you enjoy it, Hinata-chan." After observing the statues for 15 minutes, they strolled around and spoke with a few of the Toad inhabitants. Hinata thought, Naruto-kun seems happier here than back at the village. Is Hinata-chan hungry? No, Hinata's face flushed, embarrassed, and her stomach rumbled a little. All right, let's grab a bite to eat, Naruto grinned. Naruto saw Gamakichi carrying a pink-colored frog about his size as they were making their way to Fukasaku's house. Hey Gamakichi, who's your friend? Gamakichi said, "Hey Naruto, this is Mayu," in response. Naruto grinned and said, "She's your girlfriend?" Though Naruto and Hinata grinned, it appeared that they didn't have that kind of relationship, at least not yet, as Gamakichi started to choke a little and Mayu appeared to do something similar. "Why don't you two join us? We were about to go get something to eat at Fukasaku's place," Naruto replied. "How about it, Mayu?" "Well, sure," she said, a little stuttering. In a way, the little pink female frog made Naruto think of Hinata. The four of them discussed Naruto and Hinata's village as they made their way to Fukasaku's house, where they found him waiting for them outside the front door. "Ah, I wanted to know when you and Hinata would be hungry, particularly in light of your brief encounter with Gamabunta." After a little chuckle, Naruto said, "Yeah, that was a bit scary." Gamakichi and Mayu caught Fukasaku's attention. "Oh, Gamakichi, Mayu, what are you doing here?" Gamakichi answered, "Well, Naruto ran into us, and asked if we wanted to tag along." "I see, well come in, Ma was just finishing the food. I hope you made some normal food. I don't think Hinata-chan would enjoy bugs." When Naruto mentioned consuming bugs, Hinata appeared somewhat alarmed. "Ma is in the back making some ramen," Fukasaku said with a laugh. "We reasoned that Hinata wouldn't want to consume our daily routine." "Excellent, then let's go inside," Naruto said. Shima emerged from the kitchen to greet everyone as they filed into the tiny house and sat at a small rectangular table, with Fukasaku at the head of the table, Hinata and Naruto on one side, and Gamakichi and Mayu on the other. She saw Mayu and Gamakichi seated on one side of the table and said, "Oh Gamakichi, Mayu, I didn't know you were coming over. Let me go get you two something." Then she vanished back into the kitchen, saying, "The food will be ready shortly, Naruto." "That Naruto-kun was who?" Hinata inquired. "Oh, that was Shima, Fukasaku. Jichen's wife," he responded. "So Hinata, tell us a little about yourself," Fukasaku said. Following her description of herself and her family, Hinata began to discuss her relationship with Naruto, giving the impression that she didn't particularly like them. "So, the two of you are moving stealthily?" Gamakichi inquired. "Yeah, we knew her family would never allow it," Naruto answered. "I find that to be really romantic," Mayu let out a squeal. After putting the food on the table, Shima entered the room and said, "Enjoy." She was grinning when she spoke. After dinner, Naruto and Hinata sat outside, with Hinata snuggled up against Naruto. After dinner, Hinata began eating the ramen Shima had prepared, which she thought was amazing. She looked at Naruto and giggled, finding his eating style amusing. They discussed a variety of topics, such as Naruto's antics or some of the missions they had undertaken together. "Thanks for bringing me here, Naruto-kun." Remembering how long they had been at Myobokuzen, Naruto grinned and said, "Anything for you, Hinata-chan." "Sorry, Hinata-chan, but we have to get going now." "Really? Already?" She sulked. Naruto glanced at Hinata and said, "Yep, you know you would look really good with long hair." "You think so?" blushed Hinata. Grinning, Naruto picked Hinata up in bridal fashion and entered Fukasaku's. Avoiding Naruto, he inquired, "Yeah, no one knows we left, and if we stay much longer they might start to wonder where we've gone to." Fukasaku sent them back to the village with a series of hand signals that said, "I see your point." Naruto placed Hinata on the ground and they appeared in one of the training grounds that was normally unoccupied. After giving him a cheek kiss and heading home, Hinata said, "Thank you again, Naruto-kun." Naruto grinned and headed to his apartment. After a few days, Team 8 had been back in Konoha for a few days, and Naruto had been complaining about the lack of excitement in the D-rank missions they had completed. Since the team decided not to do any D-rank missions today, Naruto was wandering the village streets, and he found it amusing that Shino described them as boring. When Naruto thought he was being followed, he stopped and turned to see a rectangular shaped rock with holes in it that looked like eyes. He thought, Konohamaru, that is the worst disguise I've ever seen, considering there is no such thing as a rectangular rock. 3 young academy students were coughing on the ground as a result of the rock exploding in a cloud of smoke. "Hi, boss." Then Konohamaru shouted. "Konohamaru, what do you want today?" Naruto inquired. "Moegi, Udon and I want you to teach us something." "All right," Naruto thought, scratching his head, "but only if you can catch me." After vanishing in a whirlpool of leaves, Naruto resurfaced beside a fence's edge and moved behind it. "Assist him." They ran down the street and turned the corner of the fence, colliding with Sakura as Konohamaru yelled, "Hey, look out where you're going," he shouted. "What? When you collide with someone, is that all you have to say?" Sakura responded with a shout. "Your forehead is large," Konohamaru bellowed. Sakura gave death glares to all 3 kids. "Go, guys." They ran as fast as they could down the street, and when Konohamaru turned to see Sakura catching up, he slammed into someone and looked up to see a man with face paint who appeared to be a clown, standing next to a blonde girl holding a huge fan. Konohamaru was grabbed by his shirt by the man with the face paint. "That hurt you, brat." "Sand ninja," thought Naruto as he sat on a building, waiting to see how it would all develop. "I apologize. I was pursuing them. Would you please let them go?" Sakura begged. "No, I anticipate enjoying myself with him." "Stop it, Kankuro, you know we can't do this here." Darkly, Kankuro retorted, "No one will know Tamari, at least not for a while." Naruto landed on the fence after leaping from the building. "Dude," Konohamaru sobbed. "Leaf Genin?" Kankuro asked himself. "If you could let go of my friend there, go, I won't have to hurt you," said Naruto. When a stone fell from the tree and struck Kankuro in the head, Kankuro let go of Konohamaru and lifted his fist to punch him. "Well, Sasuke, I was wondering when you were going to do something," Naruto said. Kankuro thought, "Another stupid Leaf Genin brat," and became enraged. "I really hate show-offs," he said, removing the wrapped bundle from his back. "Kankuro, that is going too far. That's not allowed here," Tamari shouted. "Yeah, clown boy, seeing as your other team member seems to be getting rather angry with you," Naruto said, gesturing up into the tree Sasuke was seated in, where a red-haired boy was standing upside down on a branch. Sasuke thought, "I didn't even sense he was there." "Kankuro, you're an embarrassment." "They started at Gaara," Kankuro said, gesturing to the people of the Leaf Village. Gaara, who vanished from the tree limb in a clump of sand and then reappeared between Tamari and Kankuro, said, "Shut up, Kankuro, or I'll kill you now," with a cool, menacing tone. "We're leaving." "Of course, Gaara," both of them said simultaneously. Gaara paused, turning to face Sasuke, and asked, "What's your name?" "Sasuke Uchiha." Gaara and his group left after saying, "Mine's Gaara of the desert." "Why am I excluded every time?" Naruto whimpered. "Because you're an idiot, that's why," had Sasuke answered. "Go ahead and laugh, Teme." Before Sasuke could respond, Naruto vanished in a whirl of leaves. "Wait till I kick your ass." "Does he know the Shunshin?" Sasuke wondered, within the Hokage Tower. Hiruzen said to the Junin and Shunin in the room, "Given who is here, you should all know why I have called you." The Junin and Shunin nodded, understanding their purpose. "Would the 3 new Junin team leaders please step forward? Do any of you believe your teams are prepared for the Chunin exams?" Asuma Kurenai and Kakashi both stepped forward, he inquired. Kurenai took the lead and said, "I, Kurenai Yuhi, would like to nominate Team 8, Hinata Hyuga, Naruto Uzumaki, and Shino Aburame to take part in the exams. I thought you would, considering they have a few D-rank missions along with a single A rank." The majority of the ninja in the room were unaware of the fact that the wave mission had been promoted to A rank. It was uncommon for a Genin team to finish an A rank mission, even if it had started out as a C rank 1. After a moment of silence, Kakashi said, "I, Kakashi Hitaki, nominate Team 7, Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, and Sakura Haruno for the Chunin exams." "Are you certain they're prepared?" Hiruzen inquired. "Yes, I do." Ebisu trained them really well while I was busy with Wave. Although they are a bit lazy when it comes to training, he thought, adding, and since then I've been teaching them. Great, Asuma. How is your team doing? Well, I didn't think the other two teams would be as prepared. However, I also suggest Shikamaru Nara, Shoji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka for Team 10 for the Chunin exams. Every one of the 3 new Genin teams. As he handed the senseis their forms to distribute to their teams, Hiruzen said, I see well, we did have a good graduating class this year. The exams will begin in 5 days. Teams are already beginning to arrive from different villages. That's all for now. As the Junin and Shunin filed out of the room, Hiruzen returned to his paperwork and told them to get back to their teams. Alongside Naruto as Hinata and Shino emerged through the tree line, Naruto, who was waiting for his team in Training Ground 7, sheathed his sword and sat on one of the training posts, tinkering with it. Hey everyone. Looking around, Naruto failed to spot Kurenai. Where is Kurenai, sensei? Hinata answered, we thought she would be here already. Indeed, said Shino. Do you both know why we're here? Naruto inquired. No, said Shino. Naruto complained a little, and Hinata shook her head, laughing at Naruto's antics. Well, if it isn't the Dobi and his team. Sasuke, Kiba, and Sakura emerged from the trees as Naruto turned around. Well, if it isn't Teme. Naruto retorted, anyway, why are you guys here? Sakura answered, well, Kakashi. Sensei told us to meet him here. 30 minutes had gone by and neither sensei had shown up, so Naruto sighed, hoping he wouldn't have to wait too long for Kurenai. Why is she taking so long? Naruto let out a moan. At least it's the first time, Usually, we have to wait 2 hours for Kakashi to arrive, Sasuke remarked. Yes, he was 3 hours late one day, Kiba said, normally, he gives us a really bad excuse like he got lost on the road of life. Sakura remarked, or a black cat crossed his path. Naruto thought, he was always on time when it came to our training session back at the Wave Country. Naruto sighed, it would have been more bearable if Team 7 hadn't been here with them. Naruto detested Sasuke's perpetually somber appearance. The child needed to change his attitude. After the two teams reached Training Ground 7 an hour and a half later, their sensei was still not there, and the majority of both teams had fallen asleep while they waited at the training posts. Naruto noticed that Kiba had been staring at Hinata, who was asleep, and he didn't like it. He forced himself to keep quiet and sat there until he saw Kurenai and Kakashi walking together in the direction of the group. Kurenai's hair was a little messier than usual, and Kakashi's mask and headband were thrown on haphazardly. Naruto noticed that their clothes were a little messy, which was completely out of character for them. He thought about a scene in one of Jiraiya's books that was very similar to this one, and then he recalled what the two from the story had been doing just a few minutes earlier. Kakashi said, hey, as Kurenai, and he came to a halt in front of the genin. This time, sensei, what justification do you have? Kiba inquired. Well, Naruto leapt to his feet and exclaimed, you two were bumping uglies, weren't you? Naruto yelled. He was spot on with that remark. Kurenai and Kakashi were mortified and their faces turned red, but the other genin didn't understand what it meant. Coughing in his hand, Kakashi said, since Kurenai doesn't seem to be able to form words right now, I'll start. Kurenai and I would like to know if you 6 would like to take part in the Chunin exams. He handed out forms to each person, saying, it's up to you if you wish to participate or not. However, you might become Chunin if you survive. When does it begin, then? Naruto inquired. That sheet contains everything. Time, date, and location. Everything you need to know, Kakashi said, so go ahead and talk about this with your teams and submit the form to take the test on the designated day and time. Alright. Hurry to the ramen stand, you guys, Naruto cried out. When Shino said, you can't use Shunshin though. Wow. Okay, Naruto said glumly, and Hinata laughed before Team 8 fled into the forest. As Team 7 stood up and started to leave, Sasuke paused and approached Kakashi, informing Sakura and Kiba that he would see them later. Kakashi, is Naruto more powerful than me? Sasuke inquired. All you can do is wait to see how the exams go. However, I will say this. He is not blinded by his past. Kakashi approached Kurenai, who was still a little stunned, and the two vanished in a whirlpool of leaves. Past? Hey, what kind of past could he have had that could be worse than what I've dealt with? Sasuke asked himself as he stood there contemplating Kakashi's words before heading out to meet up with his teammates. In the ramen shop, I triumph, Naruto exclaimed. Winner buys ramen, Hinata answered back. Alright. I need 8 bowls of miso ramen, old man, pork with 4 of them. All right. Coming up soon. Tucci answered. So, what are your thoughts? Do we want to take the Chunin exams? Naruto inquired. After giving it a brief thought, Shino said, I believe it would be beneficial to have the experience. It won't be any more challenging than the wave mission, in my opinion. What do you think, Hinata? Naruto turned to Hinata and said, well, that's Shino's vote. Would you like to go? Did Naruto ask? Well, if you two are going to go, I will too, Hinata said after briefly playing with her index fingers. All right, then that's settled. Naruto grinned. Is the ramen almost finished, Tucci? From around the wall, Tucci peered out and said, yeah, another minute or so. Excellent. So, do either of you know what to expect at the Chunin exams? Shino inquired. I'm going in blind, sorry, Naruto exclaimed with excitement. Hinata answered, I really don't know what to expect either. I see. When the ramen finally came, everyone started to eat. With the 9th team, Guy-sensei tells me all 3 rookie teams are entering this year for the exams, Lee said while seated on a heavily damaged training dummy in one of the different training grounds. It's premature. Tenten continued, they haven't even left the academy in over 2 months. Weaklings shouldn't participate in such events, Neji said forebodingly. I want to see what this Naruto kid can do. He reportedly spent nearly 3 years training under Jiraiya of the Sannin, Lee cried out. Before Jiraiya took him, he was the worst in the academy. A failure once is a failure forever, Neji said. Neji, I wouldn't be so certain. According to what I've heard, he has already finished an A-rank mission, and that's why Zabuza joined the village, Lee continued. Has my name been called? Through the trees a dark voice echoed. Zabuza was standing in the tree directly behind the 3 genin, and they didn't even realize he was there until he spoke. Well, if it's not another Hyuga, that is, even though I prefer the Hinata. She is not so conceited as to believe that someone cannot improve simply because they failed. Such nonsense is only said by those who don't even make an effort to comprehend the world around them. He was emitting such deadly intent that the 3 genin were stuck in their places and unable to move. W. What are you looking for? Despite the murderer's intent, Tenten was able to say. Zabuza then vanished in a whirlpool of water, saying, nothing, I just heard someone saying stupid shit and decided to voice my opinion on the matter, that's all. Alongside Haku he was strolling around town, chatting with Ino, who had been polite enough not to ask him what he did for a living and who he was associated with since he had moved to the village and met this young blonde. He had yet to find the courage to tell her what he did for a living and who he was associated with. They reached the park. Ino, would you like to go for a walk in the park? Ino gave Haku a smile and said, yes, I'm going to be taking the Chunin exams soon, she said. Really? It sounds like it could be a little challenging? Yeah, but my teammates want to do it and I don't want to hold them back. Well, I guess all I can say is do your best, said Haku with a smile. Ino's face flushed a pale shade of pink, thanks. When Haku noticed Zabuza in one of the trees he and Ino were passing, he knew it was time to return to his work because of the expression on his face. Sorry Ino, but I have to be going now. Why did I do that? I mean he's a nice guy and all, but, Ino thought as she nodded and made the rather impetuous decision to kiss him on the cheek. She ran off and started berating herself. When she turned around, she saw that Haku had already left. Haku and Zabuza were standing behind a tree. I've never been good at giving advice but, the longer you wait to tell her you're a ninja of this village and that you came here with me, the more complicated everything will become in the long run. Haku trailed off, saying he wasn't entirely sure when to tell her. I'll tell her when I. What are your plans? When she takes the Chunin exams, will you follow her around? Zabuza tried to make fun of the young man by saying, you know that could get a little awkward. Well, we were assigned to the Chunin exams for our first real assignment, so I'll tell her then, Haku said, gritting his teeth a little in frustration because it was actually the first time he had dealt with a girl his age that he liked. After all, Hinata was the only girl his age that he had met before Ino. Zabuza hurriedly said, oh, I filled out the papers to adopt you, just so you know, feeling a little ashamed because Haku had been pleading with him to complete the adoption paperwork for the past few days. Really? Yeah. Haku leapt on him and gave the former Mist Demon a hug. What are we doing today, Oto-san? Haku inquired eagerly. I hope you don't plan on calling me that frequently, you see, I do have a reputation to maintain. Whenever I feel like it, Oto-san, and my image is gone. Kakashi's apartment a few hours later. Kurenai, a little sore from round 2, sighed contentedly as she moved under the covers towards Kakashi and pressed her body against his. That was wonderful Kakashi-kun, she said seductively, adding, I really liked it when you did that thing from page 80. 7 from the first Icha Icha book. I had no idea that you shared my admiration for those books, Kakashi answered. Kurenai laughed and continued to cuddle with Kakashi in bed. Sitting on Kakashi's roof, Jiraiya was pleased to see his labor being used effectively. Alongside Naruto while contemplating the potential outcomes of the Chunin exams, Naruto sat on the Hokage monument and took out a letter he had just received from Akira from the Land of Iron today. Why don't you move here, Naruto, if your village doesn't value what you're doing for them? My dad would be more than delighted to grant you citizenship, I'm sure. Additionally, bring that girlfriend you talked about a lot in your previous letter. There was a large smiley face at the bottom of the page. Some days, this place can get so boring. I guess it's true what they say. Opposites do attract. Naruto couldn't help but laugh because Akira was very different from his father and more impulsive and energetic like his mother. Naruto considered what he had just said. He and Hinata had that type of relationship. She was cool and collected, while he was very impetuous and vivacious and frequently hurried into things. That guy seemed so alone for some reason, Naruto thought, recalling the man he had met earlier today, Gaara. That's because he is just like you, the Kyuubi had answered. Just like me? What do you mean? Like you, he is a demon container. Additionally, he doesn't seem stable. Well, Jiraiya told me once that Suna had the one-tailed demon. Oh, Shukaku. Even a 5-minute conversation with that demon could drive anyone crazy. Well, I'll just have to deal with him in the Chunin exams then. I enjoy a good killing. I'm not going to kill him, you stupid ball of fur. Idiot mortal. Stupid demon. Moron. Asshole. Thus, the demon lord and his jailer kept insulting each other until they grew tired and made the decision to spend the night at home while preparing for the next inevitable quarrel.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.